Chapter 708. The demonic light swept across the sky. Wherever it passed, the void would be annihilated. There was a terrifying energy contained within. The website is refreshing with few advertisements. I love this kind of website the most. I must give a good review. Lin Tian felt chills all over his body. At this moment, the vast demonic power interweaved in this space. He could not even move a finger. A sense of helplessness rose in his heart. Facing this demonic figure, he reckoned that even summoning the divine sword in his sea of consciousness would be useless. No, no! The black-robed old man trembled. Like Lin Tian, he could not do anything. His wrinkled face was filled with fear. The demonic supremacy had a cold and majestic expression. Bloody light interweaved around his body. The demonic light swept towards Lin Tian and the black-robed old man at an even faster speed. In an instant, the demonic light pressed down on the two of them. No! The black-robed old man was terrified. His old face was filled with despair. Lin Tian's heart turned cold. He regretted coming to this place. How could he fight against such a demonic supremacy? 1. At this moment, the broken sword inscriptions on the broken mountain shone. It was hazy. The light flickered and condensed into a young man. A circle of faint light rippled out with the young man as the center. In an instant, it suppressed the demonic light that was shrouding Lin Tian and the black-robed old man. It disappeared without a trace. Lin Tian suddenly felt his body become lighter. He could move freely. He looked at the young man in front of him in shock. Then, he trembled again. This, could it be? The young man appeared. At this moment, the high heaven sword scripture in his body seemed to have come alive. It was cheering in his body. The black-robed old man was no longer restrained. He trembled as he stared ahead. The young man was wearing a long robe. He had a slender body and a heroic appearance. His eyes were deeper than the starry sky. It was as if he had seen the vicissitudes of life. At the place where the 10 demonic veins converge, a strand of soul was born. The young man looked at the demonic supremacy from the broken mountain. I left the sword scripture behind. It seems like you did not learn much during the process of condensing your body. Lin Tian was shocked. As expected. Earlier, when the young man appeared, the reigning heaven sword scripture in his body seemed to have come alive, and it allowed him to faintly guess the young man's identity. Now, he was right. This handsome man was Ao Jiantianzuan. The demon venerable snorted. Not much? You're wrong. I have learned it very well and have long mastered it. With a thunderous boom, a violent sword hum erupted from the archdevil's body, causing the entire fourth heaven to tremble. Destructive sword light filled the entire space, interweaving with baleful will. It contained boundless killing intent, as though it wanted to sever eternity and destroy everything. Staring at Ao Jiantianzuan, the honor demon laughed maniacally. I have to say, the sword scripture you left behind is truly peerless. It was enough to sweep through the world and suppress all living things. I should thank you. This sword manual will become my peerless killing weapon, Rees! Rumbling sounds resounded through the 9 heavens. At this moment, even the great Tao trembled, shocked by this violent and destructive sword might. The great world trembled. Lin Tian's heart trembled. What kind of sword might was this? It was too terrifying, as if it could really destroy a great world. This honor demon venerable actually mastered the high heaven sword scripture. Crack! 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 The void shattered with a crackling sound, and the chaotic light intertwined. It was a scene of complete destruction. At this time, the space was collapsing bit by bit, and in the next moment, it would completely collapse. Ao Jiantianzuan didn't show any joy or sorrow. A faint light spread out from the bottom of his feet, and the collapsed void suddenly recovered as if nothing had happened. In the past, when I accidentally discovered this place, the 10 demonic veins gathered together. I was worried that it would become a disaster, so I wanted to destroy it. However, a wisp of soul was born in the demonic veins. After all, it was still a life, born in a hazy state. It didn't do anything wrong, so I couldn't bear to kill it, so I left behind the sword scripture. I left behind the sword scripture so that you can use it to cut off the bloody demonic will, leaving behind the righteous and benevolent heart. Looking at the honor demon venerable, Ao Jiantianzun's voice was calm. You have disappointed me. In your sword there is only killing, not benevolence. The honor demon venerable's face froze, and a chill appeared in his eyes. You want to teach me a lesson? Don't give me the attitude of an Empyrean. In the distance, the black-robed old man trembled fiercely. The attitude of an Empyrean? This, from ancient times to the present, only the 9 legendary Empyreans could be called Empyreans. This long-robed man is one of the 9 Empyreans? The black-robed old man was shocked. Lin Tian had already guessed the identity of the man, so he wasn't surprised. However, hearing this, he finally understood why Ao Jiantianzun engraved the High Heaven Sword scripture here in the past. So this was the reason. This made him feel a sense of reverence. An ancient Empyrean, not only was his strength able to suppress the heavens, but his heart was also so broad. He could have directly destroyed the 10 demonic veins, but because a wisp of demonic soul was born in one of them, he didn't want to kill and instead left behind the sword scripture. This kind of heart really made him admire him. Boom! An even more violent sword might rushed out. Demonic light overflowed into the sky, and the blood light was peerless, causing the great Tao to tremble. In the entire 4th heaven, countless creatures trembled in fear. Immortal Demon Venerable's expression was indifferent and dignified, bringing with him a supreme might that looked down on the world. After hundreds of thousands of years of condensation, I transformed the ancient demonic power into an emperor body. This seat is Immortal Demon Venerable. No one can teach this seat a lesson. Dark demonic power surged, and sword light overflowed into the sky. The emperor aura of the chaos realm surged, and the entire world lost its rhythm. Ao Jiantianzun was very calm. He stood quietly in the midst of the endless demonic power. I didn't destroy this place in the past, but now, I can't let it go. You have no benevolence, only killing intent. If I let you out, this world will be plunged into misery and suffering. You want to kill me? Immortal Demon Venerable was slightly stunned, and then he laughed wildly, as if he had discovered the most ridiculous thing in the world. Sword Venerable, don't think this seat doesn't know your true strength. How long has it been? You're standing here now, but you're just a strand of sword intent. You want to kill me with just a strand of sword intent? Lin Tian was shocked. He looked at Ao Jiantianzun. This was just a strand of sword intent. After a pause, he suddenly understood. Yes, the 9 celestial venerables have existed for too long. They can't exist in the river of time for so long. Hong! The terrifying demonic power surged again. It was vast and mighty, suppressing all das. Immortal Demon Venerable's expression was dignified. Endless demonic light condensed into a huge dark sword, and the destructive sword intent suppressed the world. Immortal Demon Venerable stared at Ao Jiantianzun like an emperor. The sword manual you left behind can be said to be peerless. To thank you, this seat will send this strand of sword intent of yours on its final journey. With a clang, the dark sword pressed down, destroying everything in its path. From now on, this seat will rule the world and dominate the ups and downs of the world. Hong! The huge dark sword pressed down, and instantly arrived above Ao Jiantianzun's head. Lin Tian's body trembled. A complete primal chaos realm emperor made a move. Furthermore, it was executing the High Heaven Sword manual. It was truly terrifying. He looked ahead with worry. Ao Jiantianzun had been unparalleled since ancient times, but it was ultimately just a strand of sword intent. Could it resist against the primal Chaos Realm Emperor at his peak? Be destroyed. Immortal Demon Venerable said coldly. The huge dark sword pressed down, and instantly arrived above Ao Jiantianzun's head. However, at the next moment, Immortal Demon Venerable was moved. The huge dark sword condensed endless demonic power that could destroy everything. But at this moment, it stopped an inch away from Ao Jiantianzun's head. It couldn't press down any further. You! Immortal demon Venerable trembled. At this moment, he actually felt flustered. Ao Jiantianzuan's eyes were deep, but his expression was calm. As a heavenly venerable, I shall protect the peace of all living beings. Looking at Immortal Demon Venerable, Ao Jiantianzuan raised his right hand. Your demonic intent and killing intent is too heavy. There is no turning back. You can't stay here any longer. 1. With a slight movement of his right hand, Ao Jiantianzuan pointed forward. There wasn't any terrifying wave, but the space in front was completely sealed. A finger of light directly enveloped Immortal Demon Venerable. No! Immortal Demon Venerable shouted. His body trembled and shattered inch by inch. Like a weak flame, he vanished without a trace. In an instant, the oppressive demonic light in this blood-colored space was gone. Even the air seemed to have cleared up. Lin Tian was shocked as he looked at Ao Jiantianzuan in front of him. The reverence in his heart was even more intense. What was invincible? This was a true portrayal. Just a strand of sword intent existing in the world could kill a primal chaos realm demon venerable with a single finger. This is the power of a heavenly venerable. He was shocked. In the distance, the black-robed old man was also shocked. However, he relaxed again. The demon venerable was killed. Finally, he didn't have to die. At the broken mountain, Ao Jiantianzuan stood quietly in the same place. His eyes swept across the distance as if he was gazing at the entire 10 directions celestial domain. Then, his eyes fell on Lin Tian. His eyes were even more vast than the galaxy. Such a physique has finally appeared. Lin Tian Wei trembled slightly. Ao Jiantianzuan could tell that he was a reincarnation body at a glance. Greetings, heavenly venerable! He bowed deeply to Ao Jiantianzuan. It had nothing to do with strength. It was only because of Ao Jiantianzuan's magnanimity. Ao Jiantianzuan raised his hand. A soft force wrapped around Lin Tian's body and made him stand up straight. Looking at Lin Tian, this invincible heavenly venerable still stood quietly in the same place. His eyes were deep and full of vicissitudes. Lin Tian was shocked again. He felt as if his whole body had become transparent. There were no secrets to hide. It was also at this moment that he saw Ao Jiantianzuan's body begin to fade and become transparent. Senior Yu, he vaguely guessed something. The current Ao Jiantianzuan was just a wisp of sword intent. It should have been left behind countless years ago. He wanted to see if the demon venerable in this place had a righteous and benevolent heart after cultivating the Sword Sutra. Because of this, he had always existed. Now, this wisp of sword intent couldn't continue to exist here. It was about to dissipate. Ao Jiantianzuan shook his head slightly. His expression was very calm. He looked at Lin Tian and said, "Be good at using the Sword Sutra." As his words fell, Ao Jiantianzuan looked at the vast land across the sky. His body became more transparent and finally disappeared like the air. Lin Tian stood quietly in the same place. Looking at the place where Ao Jiantianzuan disappeared, he bowed again seriously. This predecessor deserved the respect of all living beings. Chapter 709. Genius 1 second remember, providing you with wonderful novels to read. The 49 skulls flickered with a dim light. Wisps of dense fog intertwined, emitting an evil sound like the screams of ghosts. It made one's scalp tingle. Heh! The black-robed elder laughed evilly. His eyes were excited and sinister. The precious technique left behind by the ancient heavenly lord was a supreme treasure. How could he not seize it now that he had encountered it? The elder formed a strange seal with both hands. Suddenly, the 49 skulls became even colder. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. You've been injured by the demonic aura. Your life source has been greatly damaged. Your strength is less than 30% of your peak. How dare you charge at me? The black-robed elder snorted. I'm at the enlightenment realm. 30% of my strength is enough to deal with you. As soon as he finished speaking, the 49 skulls trembled. More dim light rushed out and quickly pressed on Lin Tian. Lin Tianji sneered. You're courting death, he said coldly. With a thought, the reincarnation diagram was propped up. It majestically protected him within. Then, he directly summoned the 3 black water platforms. For a moment, the terrifying killing intent was vast and mighty. In an instant, the space shook violently and the ground collapsed inch by inch. The black-robed elder's expression changed. The vast killing intent made him feel the threat of death. You! Lin Tianling snorted. He had engraved a corner of the eternal killing array on the 3 black water platforms. He had prepared this in the small village. At this moment, with a thought, the 3 eternal killing arrays exploded at the same time. The bone-piercing killing intent directly sealed the surroundings. Ka! 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 With a crisp crack, cracks immediately appeared on the 49 origin skulls the black-robed old man had summoned. The black-robed elder's expression changed greatly. He cursed in his heart, and quickly formed the seal to pull the skulls back. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. You want to take them back? With a thought, the killing light of the eternal triangle suddenly surged. The endless eternal killing light pressed down on the 49 skulls. After a series of tremors, the 49 skulls were directly crushed into pieces. Ah! The black-robed old man screamed miserably. These skulls were formed from the light of his life essence. If they were damaged, he would suffer a massive backlash. Earlier, he had already been severely injured by the deathless Archevil Sovereign's demonic might. 49 of his skulls had been shattered, and his life essence had been damaged. Now, another 49 skulls had been destroyed, and his life essence was once again in danger. Damn it! This old man will kill you! With a fierce roar, the black-robed old man used the wizard tribe's strange technique. The sky was filled with strange runes that pressed down on Lin Tian from all directions. Regarding this, Lin Tianji was indifferent. Boom! The concentrated eternal killing light vibrated and slashed down madly. Chi! 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 The black-robed old man's sorcerer tribe's strange technique was instantly crushed. At the same time, the dense killing light landed on his chest and sent him flying. His body directly shattered and reassembled in the distance. His expression was extremely ugly. Do you think you can survive today? Lin Tianling said. The black-robed old man had been severely injured. His life essence had been damaged and broken, and his strength was less than 30%. His aura was extremely weak, but Lin Tianling was not. Because he had prepared a specially refined Baoden in advance, his strength had been restored to its peak. At this moment, his essence, qi, and spirit were at their peak. He was not afraid of the weakened black-robed old man at all. With a thought, the triangular eternal killing formation shook again. More killing light pressed down on the black-robed old man mercilessly. The black-robed old man roared. This was a peerless killing trap. In his current condition, it was really difficult to resist. Even if he wanted to escape, he could not. Once the eternal killing formation was activated, it directly imprisoned the surrounding space. He tried several times but could not break out. Every time, he was swept back by the dense and terrifying killing light. He could not break out at all. Puff! Once again, the black-robed old man was slashed into pieces. The aura he emitted was once again reduced to the lowest point. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! The black-robed old man was shocked and angry. He was a dignified elite of the Enlightenment realm, but at this moment, he was trapped by a cultivator of the immortal connecting realm. Lin Tian's expression was indifferent. The dense killing light pressed down again. Puff! 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 The black-robed old man's body was crushed again and again. His face gradually became incomparably pale, and his already wrinkled face became even older. It was as if he had aged dozens of years at this time, and his movements became more than 10 times slower. You don't seem to be able to make it. Lin Tian now. He stared at the black-robed old man with an indifferent and cold expression. This undoubtedly caused the black-robed old man's expression to become extremely ugly. He was shocked, angry, and terrified. He used a powerful technique to resist. Boom! The demonic shadows of two ghost shamans appeared. They roared fiercely and charged towards Lin Tian. The two ghost shamans' faces were ferocious. Ghost Ji was eerie and looked very terrifying. It caused the air to become more than 10 degrees colder in an instant. However, it was useless. With the black-robed old man's current condition, the power of the great technique he used was not even 1% of its peak power. It was extremely weak. In the blink of an eye, it was shattered by the eternal killing formation. The black-robed old man was shocked and furious. I'll send you on your way, Lin Tianling said coldly. He used the reincarnation diagram to protect his body. With a thought, the triangular eternal killing formation shone brightly. All the killing light condensed together and turned into a destructive sea of killing light. It directly drowned the black-robed old man. With a poof, his body turned into a bloody mist and floated in the air. You're only at the immortal ascension realm. Without the Tao laws, you can't kill me, a weak voice sounded. The black-robed old man did not die. He condensed a blood soul with a ferocious expression. You said that? Lin Tian's eyes were cold. With a buzz, the reincarnation diagram cut through the void and pressed down majestically. With a swoosh, a portion of the black-robed old man's blood soul was instantly shattered. The blood soul body was directly covered in cracks. Immediately, the black-robed old man revealed a look of horror. This is impossible! What is this thing? Lin Tiantan remained silent. The reincarnation diagram directly crushed over. This was his king's territory. It was naturally a piece of cake for him to crush things like souls and bodies. The black-robed old man let out a loud cry. The blood-soul body was directly crushed and completely disappeared. His body and soul were destroyed. Lin Tian's eyes were indifferent. He propped up the reincarnation diagram, and the triangular eternal killing formation also dissipated on its own. Fortunately, I made preparations before coming, he muttered to himself. If he hadn't prepared the triangular eternal killing formation and specially refined a few Baodan, he might really have died in this place. Whoosh! A light wind blew in this space, bringing up a little bit of yellow sand. Lin Tian took a deep breath and adjusted his breathing slightly, calming the flow of divine power. Whoosh! The wind was blowing, and gradually, a trace of heat floated in the air. Not far away, at the location where the broken mountain collapsed, there were suddenly wisps of blood light flashing from the ground, and the void was slightly distorted. Lin Tian was slightly moved and walked towards the broken mountain. The broken mountain had completely collapsed, revealing a black hole. When he approached, he felt an even more shocking heat. Looking at the location underground, he saw a ball of blood-red flames burning below. It was boiling and jumping, and the heat was terrifying. This is the blood fiend demonic flame? He was shocked. The 10 demonic veins gathered here, and that terrifying demonic shadow was born hundreds of thousands of years ago. It also gave birth to such a flame, he thought to himself. The blood fiend demonic flame was recorded in the medicine encyclopedia. Such a flame was extremely terrifying, and it could burn an ordinary Wuxian powerhouse to death. There was joy in his eyes, and he carefully approached it, preparing to use it to cultivate in the medicine encyclopedia. It would definitely allow his alchemist level to rise. However, when he got closer, he stopped. The flame was too terrifying. Even if he used the medicine encyclopedia, he couldn't get closer. It was far beyond his current cultivation. It's a pity that I can't use it to cultivate. He secretly shook his head. After a pause, he stared at the ball of blood fiend demonic flame, called out the black-green cauldron, and went towards the blood fiend demonic flame. The black-green cauldron was a medicine cauldron. It was obtained from one of the 9 great heavenly sovereigns, Master Apothecary's seclusion. Although it didn't have any offensive power, it was very sturdy. He believed that the cauldron could take away the demonic flame. The black-green cauldron didn't have much luster, and it was very inconspicuous. However, after it entered the blood fiend demonic flame, nothing happened. It steadily absorbed all the demonic flame. All right. Lin Tian kept the black-green cauldron, then closed the mouth of the cauldron, and carefully kept it in his stone ring. The blood fiend demonic flame was extraordinary. He was prepared to refine it when his cultivation was sufficient to raise his alchemist level. Moreover, such a demonic flame could burn an ordinary Wuxian powerhouse to death. At a critical moment, it could be used as a killing weapon. He glanced around and didn't leave immediately. Instead, he took out a long sword and practiced the Ling Tian sword scripture seriously. The 10 demonic veins gathered here, and the power of nature formed such a hidden space. Now that Aojian Tianzuan had killed the demon sovereign here, the great danger in this space was completely eliminated. He didn't need to worry about anything anymore. Clang! The sound of the sword was ear-piercing. He waved the long sword, and the Ling Tian sword radiance was formed. There was a sword essence that could pierce through the clouds and break the sky. In 3 days he had comprehended the Ling Tian sword scripture. However, the degree of comprehension was too low. At this time, he was the only one left in this space. It was naturally very suitable for him to practice the Ling Tian sword scripture here. Clang! The sound of the sword resonated continuously. In the end, he put away the long sword in his hand and controlled the Ling Tian sword scripture with his bare hands. Rays of sword radiance surrounded him, making him look like a sword god. It was very majestic. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed. On this day, there was suddenly a violent roar in this space, which made Lin Tian come back to his senses from his cultivation. The 10 demonic veins seem to have been destroyed by Ao Jiantianzuan's finger. This space is gradually withering. He was slightly surprised. Immediately, he didn't hesitate and walked towards the place where he entered this space. After half a month of cultivation, his control of the Ling Tian sword scripture had improved a little. It was considered a preliminary achievement. It was time to leave. Chapter 710. Genius 1 second. Remember, I will provide you with wonderful novels to read. Lin Tian strode toward the place where he had entered the blood-red space. In comparison, the evil blood aura in this space was many times weaker than before, and it was no longer as chilling as it was before, as the 10 demonic veins had been destroyed by Aojian. He walked along the path he had taken to come here. Along the way, he encountered many strange and evil beings. However, they were nothing and were easily destroyed by him. At the same time, during this process, he found that the ground of this space was sinking, and many cracks appeared. These cracks were getting bigger and bigger, extending to the surroundings. His eyes narrowed slightly. This space was slowly destroying itself. He couldn't help but speed up a little, and soon, he arrived at the edge of the bloody space. Because this space was slowly destroying itself, the barrier of the space weakened a lot. He used the dragon burial scripture and stepped out in the blink of an eye. The air instantly became countless times clearer. He was still in the Divine of Heaven mountain. The surrounding trees were very lush and full of vitality. It was the place where he stepped into the bloody space. At most 10 days, that space will disappear, he said to himself. Shaking his head, he didn't care too much. It was best for that space to disappear. After all, it was an evil place. The clue is broken again. By Ziki, that pig head, why is he so low-key? He sighed. Bai Ziki and Bai Chiu both have king body. If they were a little bit high profile, there would definitely be many rumors about them in the cultivation world. However, whether it was the 3rd heaven or the 4th heaven, there was no news about the siblings. He knew that Bai Ziki must be acting in a low-key manner. He only took Bai Chiu to cultivate quietly. He didn't participate in any battles, nor did he compete with other geniuses of the same generation. Where should I find them? After a pause, he walked out of the mountain. Forget it, I'll just cultivate while looking for clues. As for the siblings, he was not worried about their safety at all. This was because they both had king bodies and were strong enough, especially Bai Ziki. Back then, he had fought with Bai Ziki, and the other's talent was very shocking. Now, the reason why he is looking for them is that he himself came to the fourth heaven. The two of them should also be in the fourth heaven, so he wants to meet them and cultivate together. After all, they had been separated for many years, and he missed Baichio very much. Following the path in the forest, he quickly walked out of the God of Heaven Mountain's range. He took one last look at the God of Heaven Mountain before leaving. Soon after, he left the heavenly divine mountain and appeared in the vicinity of a great path. His footsteps were always gentle. There were many cultivators gathered in groups of 2s and 3s on the main road. The insectids are catching people to make their insected beds again. Seriously, it's said that the nearby mortal villages have all suffered a great calamity and have been completely wiped out. The old people with weak blood were cruelly killed, and only a few young adults and children were captured for the newly born larvae to devour the blood essence to grow. Mother F***Ker, this F***King clan. Shh! Lower your voice! Don't you want to live anymore? If the insected cultivators hear you, you will be dead. This old man is aggrieved. Such a cruel clan, but they are actually one of the strongest in this world. What can we do? They are so powerful that only a few people can do anything to them. These cultivators shook their heads and walked away. Lin Tian was about to reach the entrance of the great path. After hearing those words, his footsteps suddenly stopped. The small village he stayed in for a few days wasn't too far away from this place. This made him feel uneasy. His footsteps paused. Without hesitation, he turned around, soared into the sky, and rushed towards the small village at his fastest speed. In the blink of an eye, several hours passed. After several hours, he arrived at a distance of 10,000 feet away from the small village. He could already see the village's shadow. Looking from afar, there were dozens of figures standing outside the small village. They were all cultivators, and their blood was very strong. They were pointing at the small village. His heart trembled slightly, and his speed increased. He almost turned into a bolt of lightning, causing the void to rumble. At the edge of the small village, a cultivator noticed this fluctuation. He turned his head in surprise, and then his face became even more shocked. This fluctuation, it is so strong! Who is it? That is so familiar. Is it the rumored man who killed the young supreme of the Dark Shadow clan not long ago? It is indeed that man. Among this group of cultivators, some of them recognized Lin Tian, and their faces suddenly changed color. In the blink of an eye, Lin Tian had already stepped over and landed directly in the small village from the sky. Instantly, his whole body trembled. Looking around, more than 30 houses in the small village were destroyed. Some houses had been burned down by the fierce fire. Now, the entire small village couldn't feel any signs of life. The domestic animals that used to jump around in the village were all dead. More than 20 corpses lay on the ground, stained with blood. These corpses were all the elderly in the village. Lin Tianyi saw the village elder who was treating him warmly. He stepped over and came to the elder's side. The elder was covered in blood. His chest had been cut open, and his internal organs could be seen. His breath of life had long disappeared, and only a pair of eyes were still open. This made his eyes turn red. Half a month ago, this simple elder was still smiling kindly and hospitable. Now, he had become a cold corpse, and his death was miserable. Instantly, killing intent began to spread out from his body. He glanced at other places. There were many corpses on the ground, and their deaths were as miserable as the elder's. Suddenly, the killing intent from his body became even more terrifying. In the next moment, his heart trembled. He quickly stood up, leaving afterimages with each step. At the same time, he released his vast divine consciousness to search the entire small village. In the end, he only found 20 or so old people's corpses. The rest of the villagers were gone. The group of children who followed behind him and called him martial uncle were nowhere to be found. Little Ai, who stuck to him all day long, was also gone. At the edge of the small village, a group of cultivators was surprised by Lin Tian's appearance. Seeing that Lin Tian was extremely anxious, they were even more curious. This man, is he related to this place? Could it be that he walked out from here? How is that possible? This is just an ordinary village. How could such a ruthless person walk out from here? Some people shook their heads. Then, when these people saw the tragic state of the village, they could not help but shake their heads. Even the old people with weak vitality were killed. How pitiful! This is still considered good. Those who were captured are the pitiful ones. They will be used as insect beds for the larvae. Their flesh and blood will be devoured bit by the larvae. That's the real pain. That's right, Sai. Feeding the larvae with the blood of living people just to make them stronger in the future is too cruel. This is not the first time. Over the years, the insect clan has done such things. Haven't they done enough? These cultivators discussed in extremely low voices. Lin Tian searched the small village again, but the result was the same. Other than the elderly who were killed, the other villagers, the group of children who were practicing martial arts, and little AI were all gone. At this moment, although these cultivators' discussions were very soft, he could still hear them very clearly. He took a step forward, raised his hand, and grabbed one of them. The people here, where were they taken to? His eyes were slightly red, and at this moment, he was burning with anxiety. The captured cultivator was a middle-aged man who was at the 9th level of the Sea of Consciousness. He stared at Lin Tian's appearance at this moment, and trembled in fear. I don't know. I only know that there is an insect, a branch tribe of the insect clan in the southwest. Lin Tian's appearance at this moment was too terrifying. The murderous intent around him made the middle-aged man so scared that he almost fainted. In front of him, the other cultivators were also frightened. Feeling the murderous intent emitted by Lin Tian, some of them could not help but retreat. Lin Tian threw the middle-aged man away and took one last look at the small village. He did not have time to deal with the corpses of the 20 or so old people. He directly turned into lightning and rushed to the branch tribe of the insect clan in the southwest. Now the other villagers, the group of children who were practicing martial arts, and little AI seemed to have been captured by the insect clan and used as insect beds for the larvae. He was so worried that his body turned cold. At the same time, the murderous intent was also surging. As he moved like lightning, it directly shattered a part of the void. At the edge of the small village, a group of cultivators trembled together. They were frightened by the murderous intent, and their faces were snow-white. So scary. Someone trembled. That man, he really has something to do with this place. He's going to break into the branch tribe of the insect clan. That should be the case. These people's hearts trembled. After leaving the small village, Lin Tian used the 5th level of Yin and Yang Hua to the limit as fast as lightning. He streaked across the sky like a golden lightning bolt, shaking the void and making it rumble. Not long after, a huge stone village appeared in front of him. There were many palaces and buildings built with strange stones. There was a special ancient pattern on each of the palaces, which was the emblem of the insect clan. This was one of the branch tribes of the insect clan. When Lin Tian arrived here, he rushed in with murderous intent. Outside the branch tribe of the insect clan, a few powerful insect clan cultivators saw Lin Tian approaching and their faces darkened. How dare you come so close to our clan? This is disrespectful. Capture him and use him as another insect bed. These insect clan cultivators sneered. Lin Tian could be considered to be famous in this region, but it was impossible for everyone in this region to know about him. The insect cultivators before him clearly did not know about him, so they did not care at all as they eagerly pressed forward. Lin Tian carried an extremely strong murderous intent. An immortal sword appeared in his hand, and he raised it and slashed. Puff! 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 The nearby insect clan cultivators were directly cut into pieces, dying tragically before they could even scream. Lin Tian was anxious. His steps were quick as he directly smashed the door of this insected tribe and charged in. Who is it? How dare you break into the branch tribe of the insect clan? You're courting death. Kill him. This branch tribe of the insect clan wasn't big, but it wasn't small either. The moment Lin Tian rushed in, some experts noticed him and led a group of people to attack Lin Tian. Among them were experts at the 4th level of the immortal realm. Chapter 7:11. A large group of insected powerhouses rushed out, each with a cold look in their eyes. They waved their swords and used the secret techniques of the insected race, pressing towards Lin Tian. Please search product #book net to see the most complete novel. Boom! For a time, all kinds of killing lights intertwined, completely enveloping this space. Lin Tian was burning with anxiety. How could he have the time to care about these insected cultivators? He directly swung out a wave of killing sword light, bringing with it patches of dazzling blood. He shook the yin-yang lotus sea, released his divine sense, and quickly searched for the aura of the villagers. A moment later, his eyes shook. He raised his head and looked at a palace in the depths of the village. He directly lifted his leg and stepped there. In that palace, he noticed the familiar aura of the villagers. How audacious! You actually dare to barge into my clan's territory! You want to break into our clan's descendant palace? Suppress him! Don't let him get close! Kill! More insected cultivators rushed out. Among them, the insected powerhouse at the 4th heavenly layer of the Ascension immortal realm had cold eyes. He personally took action, drawing a murderous light that filled the sky. You're courting death! The insected powerhouse at the 4th heavenly layer of the Ascension immortal realm said coldly. His insected race was famous in the 4th heaven, and few people dared to provoke them. But now, a young human cultivator actually dared to kill their insected branch with a sword, which made him furious. Lin Tianji took a step forward. With one step, 100 swords were born. Puff! The 4th heavenly layer of the Ascension immortal realm powerhouse who attacked was directly beheaded, and he died. For a time, all the insect cultivators in this place changed their expressions. A 4th heavenly layer of the Ascension immortal realm powerhouse was killed so easily. Who are you? Someone shouted with a trace of fear in his eyes. Obviously, he had never heard of the rumors about Lin Tian. Lin Tian's eyes were full of killing intent. He just stepped towards the palace in the depths of the village. His body was as fast as lightning, and at the same time, a large number of sword lights followed him. Any insected cultivator who came within 10 feet of him was minced into pieces. Puff! 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 For a time, blood kept splashing like rain. How dare you! A loud shout rang out. A 6th heaven of the reaching immortal realm stepped out, his eyes cold. Lin Tian took a step forward and rushed towards the building in the depths of the stronghold. He raised his hand and swatted away the sword, containing a peerless killing intent. With a poof, the 6th heaven of the connecting immortal realm was pierced through between the eyebrows and fell to the ground. How is this possible? Many bug race experts were shocked. Who was this person in front of them? He actually killed a powerful existence of the 6th heaven of the connecting immortal realm with one strike. Quick, go and inform the branch chief! Someone shouted. Lin Tian had killing intent in his heart, but he was more concerned about the villagers. He was very fast, and he slashed out a large number of sword lights, killing all the insected experts that were blocking his path. Who are you? Some of the insected cultivators were shocked and furious. Their bug clan's branch clan was not small, and there were many powerhouses. But now, this person in front of them had barged in as if he had entered a place where there was no one. Lin Tian did not say a word. His steps were very fast, and the killing swords around his body mercilessly slashed in all directions. Instantly, blood kept splashing, and the insected cultivators fell at his feet one after another. He killed 10 people with one step. Soon, he finally stepped in front of the building in the depths of the stronghold, and shattered the stone door with one strike. In an instant, a strong smell of blood rushed towards his face. The interior of the building was a small independent stone room. As far as the eye could see, there was a young body in each small stone room. They were mottled with blood, and most of their bodies were even broken. There were ugly worms wriggling on these corpses, shuttling back and forth in the flesh and blood, gnawing on the flesh and organs. The scene was shocking, like a Jura hell. Hiss! 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 The worms wriggled, gnawing on the flesh and blood while hissing. Lin Tianyi was shocked. Was this what they meant by being a bed of worms? Staring at this scene, his killing intent soared like a torrential flood. In the stone rooms, there were bloody handprints and claw marks on the stone walls. Obviously, the corpses in the stone rooms had been thrown into the stone rooms while they were still alive. Then, they were eaten alive by the larvae and died while struggling in pain. His body trembled slightly, and he gripped the immortal sword in his hand tightly. How cruel was this? He was worse than an animal. Human, what do you want to do? A group of insectoid powerhouses rushed over. Lin Tian's chest was filled with murderous intent. He swung the immortal sword in his hand backward, and dense sword light splashed out like rain. The insected cultivators who rushed over immediately screamed, and most of them were torn into pieces by the dense sword light, turning into a bloody mist. Lin Tian stared at the stone rooms, and his expression suddenly changed, thinking of the people in the small village. He stepped into the building, and his speed was extremely fast. Some of the worms were startled by the aura outside his body, and seemed to have been interrupted in their feeding. They raised their heads and hissed, their faces ferocious. Clang! Lin Tian's steps were very fast. A sliver of viciousness appeared in his chest. Dense killing swords spread out, accurately entering every stone room he passed by. Pu, the large bugs were crushed one after another, bringing out putrid blood. Damn human, how dare you do this? Outside the building, a group of insect cultivators rushed in, and they were all furious when they saw the worms of their race being killed like this. These worms had absorbed enough flesh and blood essence, and with the unique bloodline power of the insected race, they would soon be able to take human form. Then, their cultivation path would be very smooth, but now, they were being slaughtered like this. You're courting death! A large group of insected cultivators rushed in, and each of them was filled with murderous intent. However, in the next moment, a large wave of sword light rushed over, and in the blink of an eye, minced all the insected cultivators who rushed in. The other insect cultivators outside the building who were about to rush in all changed their expressions, and they were all frightened. Inform the branch leader to come here. Why isn't he here yet? Quick! Go quickly! Our tribe's young will all be killed! A powerhouse roared. At this moment, the insected powerhouses were shocked and angry, but they did not dare to rush forward. They were shocked by Lin Tian's killing power. Lin Tian broke into the building. After about 10 breaths, he finally sensed the aura of the villagers again. He stepped over and arrived in front of a stone room. There was a middle-aged man whose body had been eaten clean, and only his head was left. He still remembered that he was a young hunter in the village who was very good at hunting. Hiss! In the stone room, an iron worm with a pair of wings on its back rushed out. It had an ugly face and pounced on Lin Tian. Lin Tian raised his hand and slashed with the sword, directly chopping down this metal bug. He strode over and soon found the other villagers in the stone rooms. They were all dead. Then, he saw the big boy who had invited him to fight. Only half of his head was left after being eaten by worms. He saw Little Stone, Lia Kai, and the other children that the enthusiastic village chief had introduced to him. Without exception, they were all dead, and their bodies were tattered. His eyes were red, and his killing intent was wild. The immortal sword in his hand vibrated, and rays of sword light flew out, killing the worms one by one. His body trembled. The villagers in the village were so kind. When he entered the village and walked in the village, the villagers all nodded and smiled at him. Now they were all dead. The group of children who practiced martial arts followed behind him for a few days, calling him Uncle Master. They were mischievous and honest. He could still imagine the scene of the children practicing martial arts. Their fist techniques were taught by Bai Qiu. Bai Qiu had stayed in the village for 10 days to teach these little fellows fist techniques. Clearly, he was very fond of this group of children. But now, These originally vigorous children had died so tragically in this place. At this moment, weak screams came from further inside the building. The voice was very familiar, and Lin Tian was shocked. He took a step forward and instantly arrived in front of a stone room. Inside was a little girl with a green jade hanging around her neck. Her hair was tied up in pigtails, and she was already badly mutilated. Blood was constantly flowing out of her mouth, and there were 5 slightly smaller iron bugs gnawing on her flesh. It was little Ai. Little Ai! Lin Tian's eyes were red. Sword light intertwined at his fingertips, and all 5 iron worms were killed. The little girl's body was still intact, but it was already badly mutilated. Even her bones were exposed in many places. The little girl's eyes were unfocused, and her vitality was fading quickly. She seemed to have seen Lin Tian's appearance clearly. Blood flowed out of her mouth, and her voice was intermittent. "Big brother, it hurts!" Lin Tian's heart ached, and he almost cried. In the village, the little girl was always sticking to him. She was obedient and cute, but now she was being tortured like this. "Little Ai, don't be afraid. Everything will be fine. Brother will save you!" He tried to make his voice as gentle as possible. Then, he directly held up the reincarnation diagram. The divine diagram's mighty and holy aura enveloped the little girl. Traces of the reincarnation diagram's light entered the little girl's body, but the little girl's vitality was still weakening. "Damn it!" He roared and directly took out a wisp of reincarnation origin. It surged into the little girl's body, slowing down the speed of the little girl's vitality. However, this only slowed down the speed at which it was fading away. The little girl's life aura was still slowly fading away, and slowly disappearing. "Damn it! Hold on!" He took out more reincarnation origin and poured it into the little girl's body, but it was useless. At this time, the little girl's flame of vitality had already been extinguished. It could not be reignited, and the reincarnation origin could not do that. "It hurts! Big brother! It hurts! It hurts!" The little girl's voice was intermittent. Lin Tian felt as if his chest was pierced by thousands of arrows. Divine light surged all over his body. The reincarnation diagram shone brightly, and the Heart Sutra of Sun was activated crazily. He took out another wisp of reincarnation origin and tried his best to save the little girl. However, it was still useless. Blood gushed out of the little girl's mouth, and her eyes, which were already bright, became even more hazy. After a dozen breaths, her vitality completely disappeared. Lin Tian's body shook. He stared at the little girl's corpse in a daze, and a ferocious aura gradually appeared in his eyes. Little Ai was only 5 years old. He could only watch as little Ai died in front of him, unable to save her. "Arg!" he roared angrily. A violent aura surged into the sky, directly shattering the palace and kicking up a cloud of dust. Many insect cultivators were horrified. They were all shocked and enraged when they saw the palace collapse. However, when they stared at Lin Tian in the ruined palace and felt his monstrous killing intent, they all trembled uncontrollably. Lin Tian reached out and trembled as he picked up the little girl's corpse from the stone room. Blood instantly dyed his clothes red. "I want your race to completely disappear from this land. If I don't kill your race, I will never enter the upper heavens." Chapter 7:12. He was surrounded by killing intent, and the void rumbled. At this moment, the temperature of the entire space dropped rapidly. Lin Tian held the little girl's body in his left hand and walked forward step by step. Blood dyed his clothes red. A 5-year-old child, a 5-year-old little girl, who was usually obedient and cute, died in front of him in such a miserable manner. She died in endless pain. He couldn't save a single person in the small village. Thinking about how he lived in the village for a few days more than half a month ago, his eyes turned red, and his murderous aura surged wildly. "Damn it! How dare you destroy our younglings' hall? All the younglings of our tribe are dead. You deserve to die. Kill him! The group of Bug Tribe powerhouses went crazy, and some of them rushed toward Lin Tian. Kill! The group of Bug Tribe cultivators roared and slashed at Lin Tian with all the weapons in their hands. All kinds of Bug Tribe secret techniques were used to suppress him. For a moment, the void rumbled and cracked. The mighty killing intent instantly covered Lin Tian's head. Lin Tian's clothes were dyed red. Holding the little girl's body in his left hand, he raised his right hand and slashed with the immortal sword in his hand. Pft! 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 The dense sword light slashed in all directions with endless killing intent, and in the blink of an eye, blood was everywhere. After slashing with the sword, he didn't stop and slashed with the sword in his hand again. The sonorous sound of the sword was very ear-piercing, and it was vast and mighty in this space. His glabella shone, and the yin-yang lotus sea was propped up. Wherever there were fluctuations of life, the sword light would directly slash through, bringing with it patches of dazzling blood light. At the same time, the yin-yang lotus sea swayed, and the yin-yang lotus petals that were intertwined with black and white yin-yang light vibrated and rushed in all directions like sword light. Ah! The lotus petals entered their bodies, and immediately, a large number of Bug Tribe cultivators screamed in pain. They held their heads and struggled crazily. Pft! 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 The sword light slashed horizontally, and the Bug Tribe cultivators who were screaming because of the lotus petals were all cut into a bloody mist in the blink of an eye. Damn it! Stop him! Stop him! Someone shouted. There were quite a few insected cultivators in this branch tribe as well. Instantly, even more insected cultivators surrounded them. Kill! There was fear in these people's eyes, but they had no choice but to attack. They shouted the word kill to boost their courage. Lin Tian's eyes were filled with viciousness. He stepped forward and slashed a second-tier insected cultivator in half. Blood splattered everywhere. He pulled out his immortal sword, and with a swoosh, the other insected experts who were charging over were sliced in half. Their internal organs spilled out and scattered all over the ground. He raised his immortal sword diagonally and cut another insectoid elite into pieces. Here, no one could stop him. There was only killing intent left in his heart. He was like a demon that existed only for the sake of killing. Pooh! He took a step forward, and the immortal sword in his hand shook again, cutting a 5th-level immortal insect cultivator into pieces. Blood splattered everywhere. Every time he swung his sword, there would be insect clan cultivators dying. Every time he took a step, there would be insect clan cultivators spilling blood. You, how dare you do this? An insected expert at the 5th level of the immortal realm said in a trembling voice. He stared at Lin Tian. At this moment, even someone as strong as this 5th-level immortal was afraid. Lin Tianhun was covered in blood as he held the corpse of a little girl in his arms. He looked like a grim reaper who had stepped out of hell. He held a long sword in his hand as he mercilessly and cruelly reaped the lives of the members of this insect tribe. Not a single one of them could stop him. Several powerful beings of the 5th level of the connecting immortal realm were also killed by a single strike of his sword. Lin Tian's eyes were only filled with killing intent. The immortal sword in his hand trembled as he took a step forward and arrived in front of the 5th-level insected cultivator. You pooh! Blood splattered everywhere. He waved his immortal sword and cut the insected cultivator into pieces. His eyes were merciless and filled with ruthlessness. He waved the immortal sword in his hand again, and a large amount of killing light flew out. Pooh! 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 Blood mist exploded one after another, dyeing the ground red. Cries of agony and fear echoed out as the group of insected cultivators retreated. They were all frightened by the current Lin Tian. Human! A cold and angry voice sounded. A majestic aura pressed down, intertwined with the fluctuations of Tao laws. Lord Branch Patriarch! That's great! Lord is finally here! The insected cultivators were overjoyed. The insected branch patriarch was a half-step great Tao expert. He had been in seclusion and was at a critical moment. Now that he had come out of seclusion, he rushed over. When he saw the collapsed young child palace, the dead insectids in this tribe, and the ground dyed red with the blood of the insectids, he was instantly furious. The ferocious aura of a half-step great Tao expert directly pressed down on Lin Tian. In an instant, the void trembled and rumbled. This is the aura of a half-step great Tao expert. He's invincible under the great Tao realm. Some insected cultivators were excited. Lin Tian raised his hand. The immortal sword vibrated, and a large amount of sword light flew out, turning the insected cultivator who spoke into a bloody mist on the spot. You're courting death! The half-step great Tao expert was even more furious. He had already attacked, releasing a ferocious aura to suppress Lin Tian. At this moment, Lin Tian still dared to attack the other insectids. He was looking down on him. Die! The half-step great Tao expert roared. His eyes were cruel, and the murderous light produced by the insectoid mystic technique pressed down on Lin Tian. Lin Tian raised his head. His eyes were ferocious, and the black hair on his forehead danced wildly. He was like the Grim Reaper, a demon lord, or a ghost emperor. Hum! Light flashed, and the reincarnation diagram rushed up. The divine and holy aura was vast and mighty, instantly annihilating all the murderous light. Then, the reincarnation diagram flashed past, directly pressing down on the half-step great Tao expert. This is, bang! The half-step great Tao expert coughed up blood on the spot. His body was instantly covered in cracks, and he was sent flying hundreds of feet away. Lin Tian took a step forward and approached like a bolt of gold and lightning. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of the flying half-step great Tao expert. You! Pft! Sanguine light rose, and he swung his sword down, directly turning the half-step great Tao expert into a bloody mist. My lord! This is impossible. How can this be? Illusion. This is an illusion. The group of insected cultivators trembled. Their branch leader, a half-step great Tao expert, was killed so easily? Lin Tian tilted his head and took a step forward. The sword in his hand slashed down mercilessly and numbly. Ah! Screams sounded, and another dozen or so insected cultivators died. The half-step great Tao expert of the insected race was not weak. In a normal battle, it would not be so easy for him to kill the other party. However, it was different now. Now, his heart was filled with killing intent, and he directly suppressed the insectoid with the reincarnation diagram of the monarch territory. At the same time, the last sword strike also contained his current full strength. It looked like he had killed the half-step great Tao expert as if he was cutting grass. Pft! 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 Sanguine light exploded continuously. The sword in his hand slashed the insected cultivators again and again. Some of the insected cultivators' blood even splattered on his body, making him look somewhat ferocious. Run! Run quickly! Screams and cries of horror echoed continuously. Many insected cultivators gave up resisting and fled out of the tribe. However, it was useless. Lin Tian had cultivated the Yin-Yang puppet to the 5th level, and his current speed was a little faster than ordinary great Tao experts. How could these ordinary insected cultivators escape in front of him? There was no way they could escape. Ah! Ear-piercing screams sounded continuously. Lin Tian's eyes were slightly red as he hugged the little girl's corpse. Killing intent surged in his chest, and his vast divine consciousness completely enveloped the entire branch of the insectoid race. The sword in his hand slashed down continuously, wantonly reaping the lives of the insected cultivators. Pft! 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 At this moment, in this insected race branch, there was only blood splattering everywhere. Only screams and cries of horror reverberated. Lin Tian was like the Grim Reaper. He destroyed one building after another and killed insected cultivators after another. After 15 minutes, this insectoid race branch was completely dyed red with blood. The insected cultivators' corpses were strewn all over the ground. Not a single one of the hundreds of insected experts, including a half-step great Tao expert, survived. They were all killed by him. The smell of blood filled his clothes. He lowered his head and looked at the little girl in his arms. He felt as though his chest had been pierced by a sharp sword. Even though he had killed all the insected cultivators in this insectoid race branch, he did not feel any better. He put away his immortal sword and hugged the little girl's corpse. He walked back to the building from before and found the corpses of the other villagers and the group of children practicing their fist techniques. He brought them along with the little girl's corpse. Stepping on the void, he walked into the distance. Not long after, he returned to the village. The sky had gradually darkened. The originally lively and peaceful village was now deathly silent. Only the smell of blood floated in the air. More than 20 corpses of the elderly lay on the ground. No one cared about them. Lin Tian brought the corpses of the elderly out of the village. He came to an ordinary old forest near the village. He used his sword chi to flatten the area and dug out nearly 100 graves. Then, he buried the corpses of the elderly together with the villagers and children he had brought back from the insectoid race branch. He inserted a wooden tombstone into the ground. Finally, he placed the little girl's corpse into a small grave that he had dug out. The green jade was sparkling and translucent. It was stained with blood as it lay quietly on the little girl's chest. Looking at the little girl's corpse, he thought of how obedient and cute the little girl was when she was alive. Those few days, she would always grab onto his trousers and stick to him. He felt a lump in his throat and an uncomfortable feeling in his chest. He waved his hand and used his gentle divine power to push the layer of soil. He slowly buried the little girl's corpse and erected a tombstone. Whoosh! The dome of the sky was completely dark. In the old forest, a gentle breeze swept by, bringing along pieces of withered leaves. It was very cold. Lin Tian stood quietly in front of the little girl's grave. His eyes were sometimes sad and sometimes ruthless. He stood there for an entire night. In the early morning, the morning sun rose and sprinkled a little bit of light on this land. Lin Tian looked at the small graves in front of him. His eyes finally fell on the little girl's tombstone. He felt a stinging pain in his eyes. A 5-year-old child, the most innocent and pure age, was now lying in a grave and had passed away. Chapter 7:13. After leaving the tombs, he did not return to the village. Not long after, he entered deep into the mountains and walked into the distance. As he walked deep into the mountains, he exuded a chilling aura. Wherever he passed, the birds and beasts would fall silent. They were all alarmed by the chilling aura he exuded. Time passed quickly. The insected branch that was slaughtered was soon discovered. The ground was covered in blood and corpses, shocking many people. This, a branch tribe, hundreds of insected cultivators, and a half-step great Tao expert were all killed. Who did it? How can it be so terrifying? Did the insectids offend someone? Do you think the insectids haven't offended anyone before? But who would dare to do such a thing? Who would have the ability to wipe out a branch of the insectoid race like this? After all, there was a half-step great Tao expert overseeing the tribe. Some cultivators were shocked. The insectids were naturally furious. A branch tribe being slaughtered like this was a great humiliation to the insectids. Immediately, an extremely powerful insectid expert announced that the matter must be investigated thoroughly and that the culprit's entire family must be killed. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, another few days had passed. On this day, Lin Tian, dressed in black, arrived in front of another stone village. It was another branch tribe of the insectids. A large race like the insectids had dozens of branch tribes. The locations of these branch tribes were naturally no secret. It was easy to find out. Lin Tian walked here with an immortal sword in his hand. The tip of the sword was propped against the ground, drawing a long sword mark. Outside the branch tribe, a few guards saw this scene and immediately frowned. Then, they revealed sinister expressions. Approaching our tribe with a weapon? You're courting death. Take him down, the leader said coldly. Immediately, the surrounding insected guards all stepped forward and pressed down on Lin Tian. Lin Tian took a step forward. He raised the immortal sword in his hand and mercilessly slashed forward. The sword gleam was ice-cold. With a clang, the sword gleam swept past and sliced the incoming insect cultivators into pieces. You! The leading insect cultivator's expression changed as he quickly retreated. Lin Tian raised his hand and a sword ray flew out, piercing through the insected cultivator. There was only murderous intent in his eyes, and the aura around his body was extremely cold. He stepped straight into the insected tribe. Who is it? Human, you dare to trespass into my clan? How dare you? The insected cultivators here were naturally enraged. They all attacked and charged towards Lin Tian. For a moment, Lin Tian was surrounded by a dense swarm of insected cultivators, all kinds of killing lights slashing at him. Lin Tian stepped forward without saying a word. He swung the immortal sword in his hand, sweeping away everything and crushing a large number of insect race cultivators. Clang! The sword radiance was ear-piercing, scattering down like rain, cutting through everything. With a pop, a fifth celestial layer expert was chopped into pieces. Before he died, his eyes were wide open, filled with fear. Pooh! 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 Sword beams slashed out within the space, causing the insect race cultivators to wail out wretchedly. They were simply incapable of defending against the attacks. Who the hell are you? How dare you do this? A sixth celestial layer expert tried to put on a brave front. Lin Tian stepped forward and raised the long sword in his hand, cutting the sixth celestial layer expert's head into a bloody mist. In an instant, the surrounding insected cultivators couldn't help but tremble. You! A sixth celestial layer expert was easily killed. At this moment, staring at Lin Tian, these insected cultivators panicked. Lin Tian stepped forward and released his divine consciousness. The immortal sword in his hand swept past numbly and mercilessly. Clang! He only swung the sword. Immediately, dense sword rays slashed across, killing a large number of insected cultivators. No one here could stop him. Wherever he passed, only blood and broken corpses fell to the ground. Suddenly, a powerful aura surged from the depths of this branch tribe. The leader of this branch tribe appeared. He was a half-step Great Tao expert. Staring at this scene, he couldn't contain his anger. Then, when he saw Lin Tian clearly, his expression changed again. It's you! The person being chased by the Ant Clan, Dark Shadow Clan, and Bone Clan. The leader recognized Lin Tian. What? It's that human? Hearing this, the insect cultivators here all changed their expressions. He had killed the young supreme masters of the Ant Clan and Dark Shadow Clan, killed the experts of the Bone Clan, and slaughtered several half-step Great Tao experts. This human in front of them was actually the person in the recent rumors. Immediately, these insect cultivators' expressions became even more horrified. According to the rumors, this person in front of them was exceptionally terrifying. How dare you! You've already offended the Ant Clan, Dark Shadow Clan, and Bone Clan. Now you dare to do such a thing and provoke our clan. You're tired of living! The half-step Great Tao expert of the insect race shouted. Lin Tian didn't have much of an expression. There was only coldness and murderous intent as he lifted the reincarnation diagram and pressed it forward. With a loud boom, the reincarnation diagram was vast and mighty, instantly covering the surroundings and pressing towards the half-step Great Tao expert of the insect race. The half-step Great Tao expert of the insect race resisted with all his might, but under the reincarnation diagram of the king's territory, he was still a little weak. After fighting with Lin Tian for a few minutes, he was crushed by Lin Tian with the reincarnation diagram. Lord! The cultivators of the insect race were horrified. The half-step Great Tao expert was their strongest expert, but he was killed just like that. All of a sudden, staring at Lin Tian, these insect race cultivators shivered and fled in all directions without putting up any resistance at all. Even their strongest half-step Great Tao expert had been killed. How could they resist such a person? However, even though they were fleeing, how could they possibly escape from Lin Tian's eyes? Clang! The ear-piercing sound of the sword reverberated in all directions. Lin Tian walked in this space and slashed with the immortal sword in his hand again and again, creating waves of sword light that pierced through the insect race cultivators. No insect race cultivator could escape. An hour later, with the last scream, the insect race tribe was wiped out and all of them died. Lin Tian didn't stop and simply walked out of the place while stepping on the blood-stained ground. Soon, he arrived at the third branch of the insect race with the immortal sword in hand. He stepped in expressionlessly and ruthlessly killed all the insect race cultivators inside, leaving only a pool of blood on the ground. Then, he strode towards the fourth branch of the insect race. There was nothing much to say as he directly killed his way in, raised his sword, and wiped out the entire place. Soon, the slaughtered insected tribes were discovered. The smell of blood had spread far and wide. The 4 branch tribes have already been wiped out. Who exactly is doing it? Which ruthless person did the insect race provoke? How could they be so ruthless? The fourth heaven was in an uproar. Hearing such a thing, many cultivators were dumbfounded, and their faces were full of shock. The insect race was extremely powerful in this world. Many races were afraid of them, but now 4 branch tribes were wiped out in a row. This made many cultivators' hearts beat wildly. The insect race was naturally furious. 4 branch tribes were wiped out in a row, which made the entire insect race lose a lot of face. Damn it, who the hell is it? How dare they do this? Tell all the branch tribes to be vigilant. Investigate. Find out for me. Find the murderer, skin him, light a sky lantern, and kill all 9 generations of his family. Many insect race powerhouses issued orders in their clans. It was also at this time that Lin Tian came to the 5th branch tribe with the immortal sword in hand and stepped in. In this place, a large group of insect race cultivators directly rushed out. Damn human, it's you! The 4 branch tribes of our race were slaughtered by you. Kill him! The insect race powerhouses in this branch tribe roared. With a boom, the most powerful half-step great Dao cultivator of this tribe walked out. Together with a few other tribesmen of the 6th firmament of the immortal ascension realm, they set up a killing formation and trapped Lin Tian within. Terrifying killing light instantly interweaved in all directions. 4 branch tribes were wiped out in a row. Do you think the other branch tribes like us are unprepared? The half-step great Dao powerhouse in the lead said sinisterly. The legacy killing formation can kill anyone below the great Dao realm by combining our strength. Boom! Killing light surged like raging waves, sweeping in all directions. It was truly terrifying. Surrounded by such a killing formation, Lin Tian did not panic at all. His eyes were still filled with shocking killing intent, and wisps of ruthless aura surged. He had consecutively slaughtered 4 branch tribes of the insect race, but he still did not feel good. He could not forget the scene of little AI crying out in pain before she died. Every time he recalled it, he would feel a stabbing pain in his heart. Damn it! His expression was fierce. A black water platform appeared beside him. With a boom, the eternal killing marks instantly filled the void, shaking heaven and earth. After slaughtering the first insect race tribe, he buried little AI and the others. Then, he walked deep into the mountains and carved a few more eternal killing platforms for emergencies. At this time, he directly summoned them. Ka! With a crisp sound, the killing formation activated by the insect race powerhouse directly shattered. It could not withstand the power of the eternal killing formation at all. This is impossible! The expressions of the insect race powerhouses changed drastically. The killing formation that they had carefully prepared could trap and kill anyone below the great Dao realm. However, at this time, it was so weak that it shattered in the blink of an eye. Lin Tian's eyes were filled with anger, killing intent, and ferocity. All of you die! Boom! The eternal killing marks boiled, and killing light swept in all directions. The few insect race powerhouses who activated the killing formation to trap Lin Tian were the first to suffer. They were directly shattered under the eternal killing light. Even the half-step great Dao powerhouse was no exception. He could not withstand the eternal killing formation at all and was instantly turned into a bloody mist. Seeing this scene, the other insect race cultivators were all horrified. They were all terrified. No! No! No way! How could this be? The strongest cultivator in the tribe and a few other cultivators worked together to activate the killing formation, but they were all killed in the blink of an eye. This made the remaining cultivators of the insect race tremble in fear. Some of the weaker ones could not even stand properly. Lin Tian tilted his head and looked at the remaining insect race cultivators. Instantly, the eternal killing light slashed out as if it had a spirit. Ah! Ear-piercing screams reverberated in the air. Not long after, the screams and sounds of fear in this place disappeared. All the insect race cultivators were killed. Lin Tian turned and left, walking out of this place. He didn't stop for too long. Soon after, he arrived at the 6th branch tribe of the insect race and killed all the insect race cultivators in this tribe. Then, he slaughtered the 7th branch tribe, the 8th branch tribe, and the 9th branch tribe. For a time, the entire 4th heaven was shaken, and many cultivators were horrified. When he slaughtered the 10th branch of the insectids, a group of cultivators who happened to pass by saw him walk out of the insected branch covered in blood. When they saw the corpses of insected cultivators littered the ground, they immediately trembled in fright. Their faces turned snow-white in an instant. Chapter 7:14. The cultivators who saw this were all frightened, and their faces paled. Pinbooknet. Among them, someone recognized Lin Tian as the man who was rumored to have killed the young supremes of the Ant Clan and the Dark Shadow Clan not long ago. He was the man who was being hunted down by the Ant Clan, the Dark Shadow Clan, and the Bone Clan. Immediately, they trembled again. This insect clan branch tribe was completely wiped out. It was him. Someone trembled. Soon, this group of people thought of something else. Recently, several insect clan branch tribes were massacred in succession. It was him who did it! Everyone was terrified. Looking at Lin Tian from afar, this group of cultivators couldn't help but tremble. They couldn't even move their feet, only feeling their legs go weak. Lin Tian didn't care about this group of people. Without changing his pace, he left this place and walked toward the next insect clan branch tribe. This group of cultivators stared at Lin Tian's back as he left, their hearts trembling. They only felt better when Lin Tian's figure completely disappeared into the horizon. However, their legs were still trembling, and they couldn't move for a long time. After leaving the 10th insect clan branch tribe, Lin Tian held the immortal sword and soon approached the 11th insect clan branch tribe. The immortal sword in his hand was propped on the ground. The sword was stained with blood, leaving a long bloody sword mark on the ground. Who is it? There were people guarding this insect clan branch tribe, and they shouted coldly when they saw this. But soon, these insect clan cultivators suddenly remembered that their own branch tribe had been continuously massacred, and their expressions changed. The murderer is here! These insect clan cultivators quickly ran back to their tribe and shouted at the same time to inform the experts in their tribe. In an instant, all the experts of the insect clan in this branch tribe rushed out, including a half-stepped Great Tao expert and several experts of the 6th heavenly layer of immortal ascension. Their expressions were awe-inspiring. At the same time, there was some fear in their eyes as they looked ahead. With one look, these experts' expressions changed. They recognized that Lin Tian was the man in the recent rumors. It's you? The half-step Great Tao expert here was shocked. How dare you provoke the Ant race, the Dark Shadow race, and the Bone race? Not only did you not provoke the Ant race, the Dark Shadow race, and the Bone race, you even provoked my race! How dare you? Some other cultivators at the 6th level of the connecting immortal realm said angrily. Lin Tian carried his blood-stained immortal sword and stepped into the insected tribe. He didn't say anything unnecessary and directly attacked. The immortal sword trembled, and the sword light instantly swept across the land. Pooh! 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 In the blink of an eye, a large number of insected cultivators met with disaster. They were penetrated by streaks of sword radiance and died an unnatural death. Damn it! Crush him! Kill! The half-step Great Tao experts from the insect race roared furiously. Together, they took out a treasure flag that shone with dazzling divine light. It was a slightly damaged low-grade Tao weapon. It interweaved with a boundless destructive power and pressed down on Lin Tian. With a cracking sound, the treasure flag's power was astonishing. As it moved, it shattered pieces of space. Lin Tian took a step forward and directly summoned the divine fire cauldron. The high-grade Tao weapon's power pressed down in all directions. It immediately shattered the treasure flag that several insectoid experts had taken out. At the same time, it mercilessly pressed down on these insectoid experts. No! The few experts cried out loudly and used all their strength to resist. However, how could the power of a high-grade Tao weapon be so easily resisted? With just a slight tremor, it shattered the space and directly drowned the few insect tribe experts below. They were all shattered into pieces, leaving behind a patch of blood that dyed the ground red. Immediately, the other insect cultivators were horrified. The strongest experts here were all killed in an instant. Lin Tian didn't show any mercy. He waved his right hand, and the immortal sword hummed. It mercilessly slashed in all directions, sending out waves of bloody light. At the same time, the divine fire cauldron that had been summoned shone brightly. The high-grade Tao weapon's power shook the space and crushed the earth. The insected cultivators turned into blood mist one after another. They didn't even have time to scream before disappearing from the world. Soon, half a quarter of an hour passed, and the place quieted down. Blood was everywhere, and corpses were scattered everywhere. It was like an azura hell. Lin Tian carried the blood-stained immortal sword and turned around and walked out of this place. After that, it didn't take long for the 11th insected branch clan to be discovered. Combined with the previous 10 insected branches that were slaughtered in a row, it set off another frenzy in the fourth heaven. In less than half a month, 11 of the powerful insected clans had been massacred in succession. Moreover, at the same time, a voice was heard saying that the person who had slaughtered the 11th branch of the insect clan was the man who had recently killed the young supreme beings of the ant clan and the dark shadow clan. Many cultivators were shocked again. It's that man? He has already offended the ant clan, the dark shadow clan, and the bone clan. Now, he is being hunted by the powerhouses of the 3 clans. Why would he attack the insectoid race? Is he crazy? I don't understand. Slaughtering 11 insectoid branches in a row, what kind of deep hatred is this? I haven't heard of any big grudges between that man and the insectoid race. Yeah, it's strange. Many people were surprised and suspicious. Immediately, at this time, someone said that the insectoid race wiped out an ordinary village not long ago. They killed the weak old people in the village and took the young adults and children to make insected beds. At that time, Lin Tian appeared in the small village with an anxious face, then rushed to a nearby insected branch tribe with a murderous intent. Suddenly, the truth became clear, and many people guessed many things in an instant. That man has something to do with that small village? Could it be someone who came out of that small village? We can't be sure if he came out of that small village, but one thing is for sure, that man must have a very close relationship with that small village. The insected race wiped out that small village, killed the weak old people in the village, and took the others to make insected beds. That must have angered that man. That should be it. This is really a deep hatred. Many cultivators discussed. The insected race must be mad. 11 tribes were wiped out in a row. In the last few thousand years, this has never happened in this region. Yeah. Mad? It's best if they die of anger. A cultivator cursed in a low voice. This damn race always feeds the blood of the living to the newly born larvae. They should all be cut into pieces. They should be wiped out. This race should be wiped out completely. Shoo! Keep it down. That's right, don't let the insected cultivators hear you. We can't afford to offend them. A cultivator next to him reminded in a low voice. The insectoid race, the main race in the center. You're courting death. Kill all 9 generations of your family. A furious roar sounded. In the main race of the insected race, in a large hall, the current leader of this race was furious. In less than half a month, his insectoid race had lost 11 tribes. There was a group of insectoid powerhouses in this hall. At this moment, all of their faces were pale and ugly, with murderous intent. We must find him and kill him as soon as possible. We can't let this continue. Otherwise, more tribes will be in great trouble, and our people outside the race will be in great danger. That's right, but the key is how to find this bastard. This bastard's whereabouts are unpredictable, and this region is so big. It won't be easy to find and capture him. The Ant race, Dark Shadow race, and Bone race have been chasing him for so long, but they haven't succeeded. This shows how difficult it is. That bastard will definitely go to the other branch tribes and wave his butcher's knife at us. We will send the strong warriors of the main tribe to the other branch tribes and wait for that bastard to go there. Then, we will kill him. There are nearly 100 branches. The main race doesn't have that many powerhouses to guard the branches. Only half of the branches can send the powerhouses of the main race to guard them. But this is equivalent to trying our luck. It's not a good plan. Not good. Then, now we can only gather the members of the branches together. In this way, we don't have to worry about that bastard attacking us one by one. No! For the sake of a single person, our clan had to migrate on such a large scale, gathering all the branch clans together to deal with him. How would the people of the world view our clan? It will make our race lose face. Then what should we do? This group of insected powerhouses' faces were pale, and the murderous intent on their faces became thicker. I have a plan to make him come to us by himself. A green-haired young man walked into the hall. He was the young supreme being of this generation of insectoid race. For a moment, all the insected powerhouses in the hall were shocked and looked over. What plan? Can you really make that bastard come to us by himself? The insected powerhouses were bewildered. The young supreme being of the insectoid race smiled sinisterly. Don't worry, I have fought with him once, and I know him quite well. He is very strong. Therefore, he will appear by himself later. Lin Tian slaughtered 11 branches of the insectoid race in succession, causing the insectoid race to panic one after another. The 4th heaven was boiling with shock, setting off another huge wave. Every corner of this world was talking about this matter. At this time, Lin Tian had already walked into the 12th branch of the insectoid race with the immortal sword in his hand. He ruthlessly slaughtered the insectoid race's 12th branch in half an hour. This, so terrifying. Slaughtering 12 branches in a row, does he want to slaughter all the insectoid race's branches? Many cultivators were shocked. Of course, at the same time, many cultivators felt extremely relieved. The insectoid race is indeed cruel. They have killed too many innocent lives over the years. Many cultivators are very dissatisfied with them. Then, on the same day, a piece of news suddenly spread. The young supreme of the insectoid race is going to the insectoid branch near the golden splitting mountain range to get something, and he will stay there for a while. 12 branches of the insectoid race were slaughtered in a row, and then the young supreme of this lineage suddenly wants to go to the golden splitting mountain range to get something. Why does this sound a little strange? It's quite strange, it feels like a trap. What do you mean by trap? This is clearly a trap. This news must have been deliberately released by the insectoid race. They spread the news that their young supreme is going to the golden splitting mountain range to lure that young supreme to kill the insectoid race's young supreme. After all, killing a young supreme is more valuable than slaughtering 20 or 30 branches of the insectoid race. There must be a lot of traps there. As long as that young man goes there, he will definitely be left there. However, if we can easily detect that this is a trap, that young man must also be able to do it. So, will he still go there? I don't think so, right? Who would be so stupid to jump into a trap when they know it is? I don't think so. I think that young man will definitely go there. Someone shook his head and said, from the recent rumors, that young man is very strong. Moreover, he seems to be very angry because of the small village that was wiped out. I think that even if that young Supreme knows that this is a trap, he will definitely go there and kill the young Supreme of the insectoid race. This seems to be very likely. This is an open conspiracy. Many people's expressions changed. At the same time, Lin Tian naturally heard the news. Immediately, a cold, cruel, and cold light flashed in his eyes. The immortal sword in his hand was stained with blood, and he was on his way to the 13th branch of the insectoid race. After hearing the news, he immediately changed his direction and went to the golden splitting mountain range. He could clearly guess that this was a trap set by the insectoid race for him, but he was not afraid. Chapter 7:15. Genius 1 second remember, providing you with wonderful novels to read. The gold-splitting mountain range is located in the northwest of the fourth heaven. It was once a precious material used to forge immortal artifacts, so it was named the gold-splitting mountain range. Near this mountain range is a large stone city, which is a large branch of the insect race. At noon, Lin Tian carried a blood-stained immortal sword, and with killing intent, he approached the stone city step by step. Outside the insectoid race's stone city, a few guards saw Lin Tian approaching and were shocked. "He's here!" one of the guards shouted, and then quickly retreated into the stone city. Lin Tian's pace didn't change, and his expression didn't change. Only the blood-stained immortal sword remained on the ground as he stepped into the stone city step by step. 1. The moment he stepped into the stone city, strands of strange light lit up outside the stone city. They intertwined with strands of Tao Law waves and instantly covered the entire stone city. At the same time, a sinister laugh sounded. "I knew you would come!" Inside the stone city, 4 figures stood at the top of a tall stone hall, 3 old men and 1 young man. The young man had green hair, and he was the young supreme of this generation of the insect race. The 3 old men next to him were all intertwined with Tao Law fluctuations. They were the 3 great Tao powerhouses of the insect race, respectively at the first, second, and third layer of the great Tao. "Little beast!" The 3 great Tao powerhouses' eyes were cold, and their killing intent was undisguised. In the stone city, the cultivators of this branch of the insect race gathered together and stared at Lin Tian with cruel eyes. As expected of the peerless genius of our race. After the news was released, that person really came. What a brilliant plan! With such a genius in our race, we will definitely prosper in the future. That's right. Many insect race cultivators spoke. Lin Tian raised his hand and waved the immortal sword in his hand, and a large sword light swept out, slashing straight at the group of insect race cultivators. The sword light he slashed out was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, it caused a great disaster to the group of insect race cultivators. Dozens of insect race cultivators fell into a pool of blood, cut into pieces by the tyrannical sword light, and blood directly dyed the ground red. This caused the group of insect cultivators to tremble. They were shocked, frightened, and furious, and they all retreated. "Damned human, how dare you be so insolent! Acting so presumptuously in my clan's territory, you deserve to die! Damn it!" Some of the insect race cultivators were enraged. Their race had 3 great Tao realm supreme elders and a young paragon who could kill half-stepped great Tao realm cultivators. Yet Lin Tian was still so domineering. He had directly attacked and killed dozens of their race members. The gazes of the 3 great Tao realm experts from the bug race turned even colder. They ordered the bug race cultivators here. "Everyone, retreat further away!" They stared at Lin Tian, and the murderous intent in their eyes grew stronger. They didn't try to hide it at all. However, the 3 of them didn't do anything. In the next moment, the young bug clan supreme being stepped forward. "The 3 grand supreme elders won't make a move, and our clan's geniuses will kill him? How could that beast be worthy of the highest elder of our tribe? Even the geniuses of my clan can crush him with 1 finger!" The bug race cultivators said viciously as they retreated. The young bug race supreme being stepped forward. He stared at Lin Tian and sneered. Outside the Stone City, there are restrictions and barriers set up by the 3 great Dao realm experts of my clan using their own Dao laws. You can only enter and not leave. They have already sealed off the entire Stone City. Now that you're in the Stone City, you won't be able to escape. The young bug race supreme being smiled sinisterly. Green poisonous light intertwined around his body. That day, I was tricked by your killing formation and couldn't unleash my full strength. It's a pity that I couldn't kill you. It just so happens that my cultivation has made a breakthrough recently, and I've reached the peak of the 7th tier connecting immortal realm. I've also made other breakthroughs. It's just right for me to kill you. Buzz. Green poisonous light spread out. The young bug race supreme being's aura grew stronger and stronger. Lin Tian held the blood-stained immortal sword. There was only killing intent in his eyes. He didn't make any unnecessary movements. He directly summoned the high-grade Dao weapon, the Divine Fire Cauldron. In an instant, destructive divine power waves swept through the entire Stone City and pressed down on the young bug race supreme being. High-grade Dao weapon? Rumor has it that this bastard has a high-grade Dao weapon. It's true. This Dao weapon will belong to our race, the 3 bug race supreme elders said coldly. As soon as the divine fire cauldron appeared, its Dao power was boundless. Scorching airflow swept in all directions, causing the space to tremble. Literature building, the young bug race supreme being snorted coldly. The poisonous light around his body grew stronger. A trident rushed out of his body, exuding a power that was no weaker than the divine fire cauldron. It was also a high-grade Dao weapon. It directly blocked the divine fire cauldron. This is our race's strongest Dao weapon, the god's slaying halberd. It's that Dao weapon! Many bug race cultivators were excited. Boom! As soon as the god's slaying halberd appeared, the power of the high-grade Dao weapon spread in all directions. It collided with the divine fire cauldron, and they were evenly matched. Since I know that you have a high-grade Dao weapon in hand, I'll naturally be prepared. The young bug race supreme being's eyes were sinister. He sneered and said, You have no advantage against a high-grade Dao weapon. Today, you will die without a doubt. After you die, your divine fire cauldron and the secret treasure from that day will all belong to me. In response, Lin Tianji only had 3 words. You will die. His expression did not change at all when the high-grade Dao weapon was blocked. The immortal sword in his hand trembled. Instantly, an extremely sharp sword was shot into the sky as if it was going to shatter heaven and earth. It directly shattered the space around him. Clang! The sword whistled slightly, and a sword ray swept out. It was as fast as lightning, and with a poof, it pierced through the young bug race supreme being. Blood splattered in the air. It was blinding, and all the bug race cultivators were shocked. How can this be? The expressions of many cultivators from the insect clan changed. Their clan's genius could kill a cultivator who was half a step into the great Dao plane. But now, his chest was pierced by a sword in a single exchange, causing a large amount of blood to flow out. This was unbelievable. Even the 3 great Dao plane cultivators were moved. Clang! The sword whistled again, and the sword will split the clouds and sky. The immortal sword in Lin Tianji's hand was stained with blood. He took a step forward, and thousands of swords appeared. The dense sword will instantly engulf the entire world. The peerless sword will cause the void to shatter on the spot. Even the 3 great Dao experts felt their hearts tremble. The young bug race supreme being was sent flying and coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. At this moment, when he sensed the sword will, his expression changed. He let out a loud roar and directly propped up a strange technique of the bug race. It transformed into a huge bug wall in front of his chest to block the sword will. Crack! The sword will was sharp. It landed on the huge bug wall and directly shattered it, causing the young bug race supreme being to be sent flying again. There was only killing intent in Lin Tianji's eyes. He took another step forward and slashed with the immortal sword in his hand. 18 sword will immediately swept down. At this moment, he directly activated the heavenly sword scripture. Every sword contained an immortal will that was above heaven and earth. It contained a peerless killing power that could destroy all things. Clang! The sky trembled. 18 immortal sword will descended, slashing open the void and landing on the young bug race supreme being once again. Pooh! Blood splattered everywhere. The young supreme being of the insect clan screamed in agony and spat out a mouthful of blood. One of his arms was chopped off. Then, the dense sword radiance pressed down and crushed the severed arm that flew out diagonally. It turned into a cloud of blood mist and drifted away. Such a scene immediately caused the expressions of all the insect race cultivators to change drastically. Their young paragon actually had one of his arms chopped off. Damn it! Bastard! The insect clan's young supreme martial artist roared angrily. He quickly stabilized his body and roared fiercely. With a boom, an extremely cold aura spread out. 3 beetles glowing with purple light rushed out from his body. As soon as they appeared, they emitted an extremely horrifying fluctuation, as if they could devour everything in this world. This is the holy devouring mantis? The expressions of some insect race experts changed. They were shocked and excited. Being nurtured in the origin, the demonic body is immortal and indestructible. It can tear apart everything. The genius of my clan actually raised 3 of these godly mole crickets? This Saint devouring mantis can devour divine power, crush bones, and tear the void apart. It's an invincible divine mantis. That bastard is dead for sure. The saint devouring mantis can tear him into pieces. Not even his bones will be left. The insect cultivators were extremely excited. They stared at Lin Tian with a sinister look in their eyes, as if they were looking at a broken corpse. The insect clan's young supreme martial artist had lost an arm, and his clothes were stained with blood. He stared at Lin Tian with an extremely vicious gaze. He growled like a beast. Devour him! The 3 saint devouring mantis were only the size of a palm. Clearly, they could understand the insect clan's young supreme martial artist's words. Their purple demonic bodies shook, and they charged toward Lin Tian like 3 purple lightning bolts. They bit open 3 large cracks in the void. Lin Tian's expression didn't change at all. There was still only killing intent in his eyes. The immortal sword in his hand vibrated and shook the sky. Clang! He performed the heaven-defying sword manual, and the peerless sword energy swept across the world. Each sword energy contained immortal killing force, and its power became more powerful and terrifying than before. It swept forward like a destructive sword rain as if it was going to destroy everything in the world. Such a sword might immediately cause the ordinary bug clan cultivators to tremble. Some of the weaker ones were so shocked that they fell to the ground. Boom! The sword rain swept across the sky and directly enveloped the 3 saint devouring mantis. In the next moment, a clear and crisp sound was heard, as if metal had shattered. In the dense sword rain, the 3 saint devouring mantis trembled. Their demonic bodies were all covered in cracks. Then, they exploded with a poof and turned into 3 purple blood mists under the heaven-defying sword energy. The divine mantis was... How is this possible? The saint devouring mantis is invincible and can tear everything into pieces. How could it be killed instantly? Illusion. This can't be real. The insect race cultivators were horrified. At the same time, the young supreme being of the insect race roared, and the viciousness in his eyes intensified. Human! The 3 saint devouring mantis were his blood, sweat, and tears. He had cultivated them for many years, and not long ago, he could completely control them and turn them into sharp weapons. But now, they were shattered by Lin Tian just like that. Boom! The green poisonous light outside his body rolled like a raging sea. He supported the other powerful secret techniques of the insect race and charged toward Lin Tian crazily. Lin Tian didn't reply. He just shook the long sword in his hand and took a step forward. The heaven-defying sword manual slashed again. With a clang, the dense heaven-defying sword energy appeared again. It tore the sky apart and enveloped the young supreme being of the insect race. Poof! 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 Blood splattered. The insect race secret technique supported by the young supreme being of the insect race collapsed. His body was almost instantly pierced into a sieve, and he let out a shrill scream. Chapter 716. Genius 1 second remember, providing you with an interesting novel to read. Blood splattered in the void. In this place, the group of bug race cultivators were astonished. The young paragon of their race had been penetrated once again, and he was now at an absolute disadvantage. Literature building. How is this possible? These bug race cultivators had looks of disbelief on their faces, finding it hard to believe the scene before their eyes. Even the three great Dao realm experts' expressions changed again and again. Lin Tian didn't say anything unnecessary. He directly stepped forward, raised the immortal sword in his hand, and slashed out with sword light once again. Clang! The sound of the sword was ear-piercing, and the void shook. He executed the Lingtian sword scripture, and a will that was above heaven and earth interweaved in the sword light. It could be said to be truly unstoppable, and nothing could stop it. It could destroy everything. Pfft! Another wave of blood spread out, and the young paragon of the bug race was sent flying again, coughing out large mouthfuls of blood. After stabilizing his body with great difficulty, the young paragon of the bug race's hair was disheveled, and his gaze became incomparably ferocious and ruthless. He let out a savage roar. Human! I will make you die miserably! With a boom, the aura on his body became stronger once again. A huge bug shadow rushed out from behind him, interweaving with waves that could corrode everything. It grabbed toward Lin Tian with a claw. This bug shadow was over 60 feet tall. When its claw reached out, the void was annihilated, and it was exceptionally terrifying. One of the profound secret arts of our race, lifeless bug ancestor. We can kill him! Absolutely! Once the lifeless bug ancestor appears, there will be no more life in all directions. The group of bug race cultivators cried out. Chi-chi-chi sounds rang out in the void. The bug shadow's claw reached out toward Lin Tian, and the spiritual chi in the void moved, rapidly gathering over, causing the bug shadow's claw to become even more terrifying. Die! The young paragon of the bug race roared. There was only killing intent in Lin Tian's eyes. It was cold, cruel, and emotionless. He took a step forward and raised the immortal sword in his hand. The divine power in his body surged, and he instantly slashed out 108 sword lights, slashing toward his opponent from all directions. Chi! 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 The sword light collided with the insect shadow's large hand, producing a crisp sound. In the next moment, the hand that the giant insect shadow had stretched out shattered and exploded with a puff. The young insect race supreme being's expression changed drastically. The lifeless insect ancestor's great palm imprint was actually shattered. You! Clang! Pooh! The ear-piercing sword radiance streaked across like a bolt of lightning and pierced through the young insect race supreme expert with a pff sound. At the same time, a dense sword light flew out and instantly cut the insect shadow behind him into pieces. Lifeless insect ancestor's great technique was broken? How could this be? This is one of the profound secret techniques of our clan. Many insectoid cultivators were shocked. Ah! At this time, another scream rang out. Lin Tian waved the immortal sword in his hand, and like a flash of lightning, he arrived in front of the young insect race supreme master. With a swing of his sword, he was sent flying, and he was almost cut in half. Blood splattered all over the ground, and it was a ghastly sight. Divine halberd, move! The young insect race supreme master roared. With a boom, the high-grade Dao weapon divine halberd vibrated in the distance and flew back, aiming at Lin Tian Sha. Lin Tian did not react to this at all. The immortal sword in his hand was stained with blood, and the towering sword radiance vibrated again, still slashing straight at the young insect race supreme master. At the same time, the divine fire cauldron shone brightly, turning into a flame that blocked the divine halberd. Clang! 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 The sword radiance was extremely ear-piercing, and the sharp sword intent swept through the world, causing the entire space to lose its rhythm. Pooh! Once again, the young insect race Supreme Master was sent flying, and his right leg was pierced through with a transparent bloody hole. It was extremely miserable. Human! The young insect race Supreme Master roared. Lin Tian stepped forward, and without saying anything, the immortal sword in his hand shone with divine light as it slashed down again. In that blood-colored space, he had cultivated the Towering Heaven Sword Manual for half a month, and he could be considered to have made some achievements. Now that he was fighting with the Towering Heaven Sword Manual, the supreme offensive power was terrifying, and it was truly enough to shatter everything in the world. With a puff, the young insect race Supreme Master was sent flying again, his chest pierced through, and his internal organs could be seen. Blood gushed out of the young insect race Supreme Master's mouth, and his clothes were torn. His aura instantly weakened to the lowest point. Lin Tian had nothing to say. He closed in again, and with a swing of his immortal sword, the young insect race Supreme Master was sent flying again. Pooh! 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 The immortal Towering Heaven Sword radiance flew and slashed, penetrating the young insect race Supreme Master again and again. Blood splattered like rain. The group of ordinary insect race cultivators were shocked, and all of them trembled. Their young insect race Supreme Master could kill a half-step Great Tao expert, but now, in front of this human, he was actually so weak? Clang! Lin Tian stepped forward, and the Towering Heaven Sword radiance spread out, and with a puff, it cut off the young insect race Supreme Master's left leg. The young insect race Supreme Master screamed in agony. His hair was disheveled, and he roared like a madman. Lin Tian's eyes were cruel and merciless. He stepped forward and slashed out with his sword. A sword radiance slashed out diagonally, shattering one of the young insect race Supreme Master's eyeballs. Blood directly dyed his entire face red. Arg! The young insect race Supreme Master screamed in agony, and he was sent flying like a scarecrow. Such a scene made the group of ordinary insect race cultivators tremble in unison. Our race's genius has been defeated. Lin Tian held the immortal sword and swung it with all his might. Instantly, killing intent shook all directions, and a sword radiance of absolute annihilation shot out mightily, mercilessly slashing towards the young insect race Supreme Master. When this sword radiance appeared, the entire world trembled, shocked by its heaven-defying might. Bastard! It was also at this moment that an angry roar sounded. With a boom, Tao energy seethed. A stream of dim light shot out from afar, crushing this supreme sword radiance with a chi sound. The three great Tao realm experts of the insect race moved. They took action at this moment, saving the young insect race Supreme Master's life at the critical moment. They appeared in the battlefield between Lin Tian and the young insect race Supreme Master, staring coldly at Lin Tian. At this moment, the young insect race Supreme Master had only lost an arm and a leg, as well as an eye. Later on, they could use Tao laws to help him recover. However, if he continued to fight against Lin Tian, he might die in the end. Once he died, there would be no way for him to recover. Kill him! One of the great Tao realm experts at the third level of the great Tao realm said. Of course! The second level great Tao realm expert nodded. His eyes were sinister and cold. Vile spawn! The initial stage great Tao realm expert of the insect race took a step forward, reaching out with his large hand. He interweaved Tao laws of destruction and pressed down on Lin Tian. The third-level Great Tao Realm and second-level Great Tao Realm experts of the insect race also made their moves. They reached out with their large hands, all of which contained the light of Tao. Human bastard, let's see how you're going to survive this time. The three supreme elders of our race have taken action. How can a mere immortal connecting realm cultivator survive? You'll only die without leaving any ashes behind. You'll definitely die. Kill! The gazes of the insect race cultivators were vicious. Boom! The three great Tao realm experts stood together, and three large hand imprints that contained Tao laws pressed down. The waves were terrifying and shocking, causing the void to collapse. Many of the surrounding palaces were shattered. Little bastard! The eyes of the three great Tao realm experts of the insect race were sinister, and their killing intent was boundless. They had never expected that the peerless genius of their race would actually be defeated by Lin Tian so easily. Scram and die! At the thought of this, the three of them attacked with even greater force. Dao Law waves surged like the sea, and the large hands were extremely terrifying. Lin Tian could clearly sense the threat of death. The three large hands pressed down, causing even his powerful celestial body to tremble slightly. Cracking sounds rang out from his bones as if they were going to shatter at the very next instant. However, even so, his expression did not change in the slightest. It was still filled with a merciless and cruel gleam like that of a demon lord from hell. I'll send you guys on your way. With a thought, he called out a dark cyan cauldron. The mouth of the cauldron faced the three great insect race cultivators, and flames filled the sky. The flames were blood-red in color. They were the blood fiend demonic flames. He had obtained them not long ago in that blood-red space in the heavenly divine mountain. Even ordinary enlightenment realm experts would be burned to death by them. At this moment, he released these flames and directly faced the large hands of the three great Tao realm experts of the insect race. In the blink of an eye, the flames completely enveloped the three large hands. Ah! Agonizing cries rang out immediately. In just an instant, the large hands that the three great insect race cultivators had stretched out were burned to a crisp. Moreover, at the same time, blood-red demonic flames leaped about, moving up along the three large hands. In the blink of an eye, they completely enveloped the three great Tao realm experts of the insect race. Ah! Bastard, you're... Ah! Damn it! The three great Tao realm experts of the insect race let out agonizing cries. Divine light surged around them, and Tao laws surged wildly to fend off the blood-red flames outside their bodies. However, it was useless. The blood-red flames burned everything. There was nothing that could fend them off. Ah! In an instant, the three great Tao realm experts of the insect race could only let out agonizing cries. Supreme Elder! What? What is this? Elders! In the distance, the group of insect race cultivators were horrified. When they saw this scene, all of them trembled. Ah! Agonizing cries rang out. In the void, the three great Tao realm experts of the insect race had been majestic just a moment ago. However, at this moment, they had turned into three human-shaped torches. They struggled in the air and then fell to the ground with loud bangs. Then, they rolled on the ground and unleashed secret techniques of the insect race. Alas, they were still unable to fend off these flames. The blood-red demonic flames burned and destroyed everything. Ah! The three experts let out agonizing cries. Gradually, the cries became weaker and weaker. Then, they finally dissipated completely. Only the three human-shaped torches were still burning. After a few breaths, the blood-red flames also slowly dissipated, leaving behind only three black human-shaped marks on the ground. For a moment, the expressions of the insect race cultivators changed drastically. The auras of the three great Tao realm experts had completely disappeared. The three elders I'm impossible. This is impossible. The three elders are at the great Tao realm. How could they be? Many insect race cultivators were trembling. Human! A furious roar rang out. The young insect race supreme being's expression was hideous. His eyes were filled with viciousness and viciousness. Damn it! You deserve to die! He had devised a scheme to bring out a superior grade Tao weapon from the insect race. The three great Tao realm experts from the main insect race had followed him and lured Lin Tian over. He had thought that he would be able to kill Lin Tian alone. However, he had not expected that after the battle with Lin Tianyi, he would be injured repeatedly. Now, the three great Tao realm experts who had come with him had also died tragically on the spot. Staring at Lin Tian, he bellowed viciously. I want you dead! With a boom, his body distorted, and he revealed his true insect form. It was a huge gray-shelled insect that was more than 15 feet tall. His entire body was covered in a rancid mucus. Then, densely packed small black insects flew out from his body. They buzzed and flapped their wings, exuding an extremely cold and bloody aura. Chapter 7:17. The pitch-black bugs were densely packed and exuded an extremely chilling aura. It was hard to count how many of them there were, and they almost covered the entire stone city. They were like small leeches flying in the air, which was extremely disgusting. Please search for the most complete version of this novel. Kill! 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 The young insect supreme transformed into his true form of a gray-shelled bug and roared fiercely. Instantly, the densely packed pitch-black bugs pressed toward Lin Tian like a black fog, causing the void to sizzle. Lin Tian was expressionless. He waved the immortal sword in his hand, and a towering sword light swept across. Puff! 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 The pitch-black bugs couldn't get close to him and exploded one by one. Ah! At this moment, screams sounded. In the distance, a group of ordinary insect cultivators screamed as they were also enveloped by the pitch-black bugs. The pitch-black bugs landed on some of the insect cultivators, and their bodies quickly withered as their vitality was sucked away. Then the pitch-black bugs that sucked away the insect cultivator's essence and blood flew back into the young insect supreme's body. The young insect supreme's aura instantly became stronger, and wisps of blood-red light appeared on his gray-shelled bug body. No! No! Supreme, what are you doing? Ah! Screams and cries of horror continued to sound. Many insect cultivators in the stone city were in great trouble. The young insect supreme's true form of a gray-shelled bug was blinded in one eye and had 2 legs cut off. It was the eye and limbs that were cut off by Lin Tian when he was in his human form. At this moment, as the pitch-black bugs absorbed the essence and blood of other insect cultivators and sent them back into his body, his blinded eye grew back. Even the 2 legs that were cut off grew back together with a putrid mucus, which looked very disgusting. My people, you won't die in vain! It's worth it to exchange your lives for his. Staring at Lin Tian, the young insect supreme said in a ferocious voice. My race's forbidden secret technique, blood-devouring reincarnation. The essence and blood of all living things here will become my power. When these powers are combined and grafted onto my body, I'll kill you immediately. Boom! A terrifying blood-red radiance surged. The young insectoid supreme being shook his true insectoid body, and one of his insectoid legs charged toward Lin Tian. With a sizzling sound, the void was directly annihilated, and the ancient buildings were also destroyed, directly melting away. Die! The young paragon of the bug race roared. A dense swarm of pitch-black bugs followed suit. Like a swarm of bugs, they swarmed toward Lin Tian in a frenzy. Lin Tian's face was expressionless as he stared at the young supreme insectoid. There was only cruel killing intent in his eyes. You will die! Your clan will be annihilated! Clang! He shook the immortal sword in his hand and executed the High Heaven Sword Manual to the extreme. Densely packed sword rays suddenly appeared. Swish! 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 Sword radiance slashed out like a dense rain of arrows, shattering and annihilating everything. Little bugs were crushed one after another. Then, with a cracking sound, the insect tribe's young supreme being's extended leg was directly chopped off and crushed into a bloody mist in an instant. Ah! The insect tribe's young supreme being howled in agony and became even more frenzied. He opened his mouth and spat out dense blood rays. These blood rays were all devoured by him from the other insect cultivators. They evolved into destructive killing lights within the insected body, destroying everything in their path. Lin Tian took a step forward and brandished the tyrannical heaven sword scripture. Sword light filled the entire sky as he forcefully shattered the blood light. Pft! A high heaven sword force slashed down horizontally, almost cutting the insect tribe's young supreme being's body into 2. All of you are about to become my power! The insect tribe's young supreme being went crazy. The dense swarm of pitch-black bugs enveloped another group of ordinary insect cultivators. In the blink of an eye, screams rang out instantly. "Supreme Martial Artist, please stop!" "No!" "Ah!" The insected cultivators were terrified. In the blink of an eye, nearly 100 insected cultivators were devoured by the pitch-black bugs. Then, they flew away and transferred to the young supreme being of the insectoid race. Instantly, the young arachnid supreme's aura became stronger, and the broken leg grew out once more. "My race's forbidden secret technique is the art of invincibility!" the young supreme being of the insectoid race roared. With a boom, more blood rays rushed out. They carried a wave that could corrode and annihilate everything as they flooded toward Lin Tian. In an instant, a large area of space was melted away. The scene was terrifying. Lin Tian did not say anything. He stepped forward and continued to use the High Heaven Sword manual to destroy everything. This time, the High Heaven Sword force did not just slash at the young supreme being of the insectoid race. Instead, it completely enveloped the surroundings, and the main target was a group of black bugs. In an instant, the sword force swept out like a gale, and the pitch-black bugs were crushed one by one. "You can't kill all of them!" the young supreme being of the insectoid race roared. More pitch-black bugs rushed out of his body. They were densely packed, and there were more of them than before. "I can summon as many as you can kill!" the young supreme being of the insectoid race laughed maniacally. Lin Tian did not say anything. He held the sword with his right hand and formed the High Heaven Sword seal with his left hand. A destructive sword intent rushed out of his body, and the entire space shook. It was as if the void was tainted with sword power. The pitch-black bugs exploded quickly. At the same time, he used the Four Symbols seal. A silver Tao diagram rushed into the sky and directly enveloped the young supreme being of the insectoid race. Suddenly, the young supreme being of the insectoid race found it difficult to move. The power in his body seemed to have been frozen. "Human!" the young supreme being of the insectoid race roared crazily, and the blood rays around him trembled. Lin Tian took a step forward, his black hair fluttering in the wind. Buzz! Behind him, the reincarnation diagram rushed out, and immediately emitted a powerful aura. It shook gently, and the young supreme being of the insectoid race trembled. With a thought, the reincarnation diagram rotated and mercilessly pressed down on the young supreme being of the insectoid race. Boom! The reincarnation diagram shone brightly. At the same time, the Four Symbols Tao diagram pressed down and crushed all the black bugs. The young supreme being of the insectoid race trembled. His voice was ferocious and filled with endless ruthlessness. "No! Impossible! You're no match for me. You can't be my match! Blood-devouring reincarnation! Come again, kill for me! Kill! Kill! Kill!" With a boom, the blood rays intertwined, and a surge of energy rushed out. The gray insected body turned blood-red. "Kill! Kill! Kill!" With a ruthless roar, the young supreme being of the insectoid race shook his insected body and madly charged toward Lin Tian. Moreover, he crazily channeled the high-grade Tao weapon trident, causing it to rush to his side. With endless blood rays, he activated this divine trident, causing its killing power to skyrocket. With a crack, the void around them broke inch by inch. The Four Symbols Tao diagram trembled slightly, and cracks appeared. Lin Tian's expression didn't change at all. His eyes were still cruel. The black hair in front of his forehead danced even more wildly with the hurricane on this battlefield. The reincarnation diagram shone even brighter. He urged the reincarnation diagram to press down. With a thought, the divine furnace flew over and pressed down on the young supreme being of the insectoid race. Then, his left hand formed the towering heaven sword seal again. He raised his hand and summoned 9 substantial towering heaven sword auras. Boom! 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 After a violent collision, the surrounding space collapsed. The buildings collapsed, and the 2 high-grade Tao weapons were sent flying. In the center of the battlefield, only the reincarnation diagram was still flickering faintly. It hadn't been sent flying or disappeared. "Die!" Lin Tian raised his left hand and directly grabbed the reincarnation diagram. He directly pressed it toward the young supreme being of the insectoid race. The young supreme being of the insectoid race trembled. He let out a violent and resentful roar. "I'm invincible! You're not my..." Poof! The reincarnation diagram pressed down, interrupting the young supreme being of the insectoid race. With a poof, it shattered into pieces. Only a cracked insectoid head was left, and it rolled far away, stained with blood. In an instant, the air became incomparably silent. The young supreme being of the insectoid race's aura completely disappeared, mercilessly destroyed. In the distance, the ordinary cultivators of the insectoid race trembled. They were all stunned. "The three supreme elders, the peerless geniuses of our race, are all dead. No, this can't be real. It can't be real. A dream, this is a dream." Many insectoid cultivators were in a daze. Clang! An ear-piercing sword whistle tore through the sky and swept over. With a poof, more than 10 insectoid cultivators were cut into pieces. Immediately, the insectoid cultivators who were still alive woke up from their daze. They trembled again, and their eyes were instantly filled with fear. "Help!" Someone saw Lin Tian walking over and immediately let out a shrill howl. "Run!" In an instant, all the insect cultivators were in chaos and fled out of the stone city. Outside the stone city, there was originally a barrier set up by the 3 great Tao realm experts of the insectoid race. One could only enter and not leave. However, the 3 experts had already been burned to death by Lin Tian. The barrier outside the city naturally lost its effect, and they could walk out of the city. However, it was true that they could walk out of the city. However, how could these ordinary insect cultivators escape from Lin Tian's hands? Faced with the current Lin Tian, these insected cultivators were too weak. It was as if the difference between heaven and earth was huge. Clang! The sword whistled, and the cold sword light swept past, slashing in all directions. Poof! 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 Bloody mists exploded one after another. It was dazzling and demonic. "Spare me! Spare me! No! Don't kill me! Don't kill me! Ah!" The pleas for mercy and screams continued. One by one, the insect cultivators walked towards a dead end and died under Lin Tian's sword. How could this be? How could this be? A powerful insected cultivator trembled in fear. The young paragon of their lineage had set up an open trap and brought out the superior grade Dao weapon of their tribe. 3 great Dao realm experts were suppressing them, all for a small immortal cultivator. Originally, they should have been able to win easily. However, the outcome was actually like this. Poof! A sword light flew over and directly cut this insected cultivator into pieces. Lin Tian's eyes were cruel. He waved the immortal sword in his hand mercilessly. With a raise of his hand, tens of thousands of sword lights appeared, sealing off all the insected cultivators' escape routes. The insected cultivators exploded under the sword lights. Ah! Screams of agony reverberated through the air. Chapter 7:18. Genius 1 second remember, providing you with wonderful novels to read. Staring at the stone city, the group of cultivators who had rushed to this place were frightened out of their wits. In the stone city, blood dyed the ground red. Stone buildings collapsed one after another. Insect cultivators were screaming in fear. And in the city, Lin Tianjing was wielding an immortal sword, killing 10 with each step. He was mercilessly reaping the lives of the insect cultivators. The scene was bloody and brutal. That man really came here? Didn't they say that the young paragon of the insect clan came here? Where is he? That. Someone suddenly pointed towards a direction in the city, where a blood-stained bug head was. That looks like the head of the bug race's young supreme's main body. I've seen his main body before. It seems to be the case. I've seen it before by chance. The cultivators' hearts trembled. The young paragon of the insect clan was killed. When they said that the young paragon of the insect clan was coming here, the news should have come from the insect clan. The insect clan should be prepared, right? How come now, the situation is completely one-sided? Could it be that we guessed wrong? Maybe it's not what we thought? No. Look over there. Someone pointed to the center of the city, where a trident was floating. Instantly, the crowd was shocked. The most powerful precious weapon of the insect clan! Such a powerful precious weapon was brought here. That means that we guessed right. The insect clan did set up a trap here to lure that man here. Otherwise, why would the most powerful precious weapon of this clan appear here? This clan must have set up many traps here. But now, the young paragon of the insect clan has been killed. That man is massacring this branch of the insect clan. Many cultivators were shocked. Ah! Screams came from the stone city, shrill and horrifying. Inside the stone city, Lin Tian's eyes were cruel. With the immortal sword in his hand, he looked like the grim reaper walking out of hell. With each step he took, he reaped the lives of several insect clan cultivators. No one could stop him. Bastard! A half-step Great Tao Realm Bug tribe elite cultivator roared and unleashed all of his techniques. However, under the current Lin Tian, he could not hold on for long. Soon, he was killed, his body and soul destroyed. Literature building, Lin Tian stepped forward. The immortal sword in his hand flashed with cold light. With a swing of his sword, hundreds of sword rays flew in all directions. Puff, puff, puff. One by one, the insect cultivators fell into a pool of blood. No! Spare me! Spare me! Don't kill me! The insected cultivators were terrified. They begged for mercy and fled in all directions. However, it was completely useless. In Lin Tian's eyes, there was only ruthlessness and killing intent. How could he hold back? He coldly and numbly waved the sword in his hand. Pooh! 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 Blood splashed out and fell to the ground, splashing on the surface of the stone building. In the blink of an eye, 15 minutes passed. Arg! In the stone city, after another scream, the entire space fell silent. The insected cultivators in the branch tribe here were all killed. Not a single one survived. Blood flowed like a stream on the ground. All dead. This is a rather large branch tribe of the insected race. But now this is simply... Outside the stone city, the cultivators' hearts trembled. Everyone's face was snow white. In the city, Lin Tian was expressionless. He waved his hand and called back the divine fire cauldron. At the same time, he also called back the insected trident. He activated the Heart Sutra of Sun and refined it on the spot. He erased the insected brand on the trident, and then put it away in the stone ring. Such a scene shocked the cultivators outside the city. The insected race's most powerful treasure weapon was taken away just like that. Boom! 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 In the distance, 3 powerful divine powers appeared almost at the same time. 3 divine lights came to this place and turned into 3 old men. Each of them had a strong fluctuation of Tao law. Literature building. The great Tao realm experts of the Ant Clan and the Dark Shadow Clan appeared not long ago. And that's the Bone Clan. There's also a great Tao realm expert from this lineage? 3 great Tao realm experts surrounded this place? The crowd was shocked. Many people subconsciously retreated. When the 3 old men appeared here and saw the tragic situation in the stone city, they were shocked. However, this shock soon disappeared. They all rushed toward Lin Tian in the city. When they arrived, the 3 old men all had killing intent on their faces. In particular, the great Tao realm expert of the Ant Clan and the Dark Shadow Clan had a ferocious look in their eyes. The 3 of them were like the other cultivators who came here. They also felt that Lin Tian might come here because of the news that the young paragon of the insected race would come to this stone city. Hence, they forced their way here. Bastard! You really came here! The great Tao realm expert of the Ant Clan was overflowing with killing intent. Lin Tian actually killed the young paragon of their clan. We can't let him die so easily. We must let him suffer the pain of purgatory. The great Dao realm expert of the Dark Shadow clan had a vicious gaze. The young paragon of their clan had also been killed by Lin Tian previously. The great Dao realm expert of the Bone clan snorted. Compared to the Ant clan and the Dark Shadow clan, their clan was much better. Only a dozen of their clan members and a few half-stepped great Dao realm experts had died. The loss wasn't too great. Killing Lin Tian was just to wash away the humiliation. Little bastard! The Bone clan expert's eyes were cold. He took a step forward and directly attacked. The great Dao realm experts of the Ant clan and the Dark Shadow clan naturally wouldn't fall behind. They also attacked together and pressed down on Lin Tian. With a boom, the void shook greatly. Dao laws surged, and the stone city shook. That person is going to be in trouble! Some cultivators were shocked. 3 great Dao realm experts surrounded him. How could a second-tier immortal ascension cultivator resist them? No matter how monstrous or heaven-defying a person was, it was impossible. The difference in cultivation was too great. Boom! Powerful killing fluctuations intertwined. 3 surges of great Dao aura surged, almost imprisoning the space. Lin Tian was expressionless. He glanced coldly at the 3 great Dao realm experts. With a step, he tore through the sky like a golden bolt of lightning and instantly disappeared into the distance. His speed was too astonishing, causing all the cultivators outside the stone city to tremble. So fast! He is made of lightning? Someone was astonished. Even the 3 great Dao realm experts were shocked. They were all stunned by the speed Lin Tian suddenly displayed. Chase! The great Dao realm expert of the Bone clan shouted. Instantly, 3 sounds of air being torn apart rang out. The 3 great Dao realm experts also turned into 3 beams of light and chased after him. In the blink of an eye, the 3 of them were far away from the stone city. Little bastard, you can't escape! The 3 of them had sinister looks in their eyes. Lin Tianqing stood in the air and didn't respond. The yin and yang loon at the 5th level sped up again. Every step he took left a golden footprint in the air. It was as if he was walking on the marks of the way. Each step he took covered almost 1,000 feet. The expressions of the 3 great Dao realm experts changed. In just an instant, the 3 of them were left far behind. Damn it! The 3 of them chased frantically. However, in their field of vision, Lin Tian's figure was moving further and further away. After chasing for a distance, Lin Tian's figure completely disappeared. Even his aura could no longer be felt. Bastard! An angry roar rang out, directly shattering a part of the void. It was not easy for them to find Lin Tian's traces. However, even with the 3 of them working together, they were still unable to do anything to him. They were actually left behind by him with just his speed. This caused the 3 of them to have ugly expressions. As powerful as they were, great Dao realm experts, their pure speed was actually no match for a second-tier immortal ascension cultivator. Lin Tian stepped on the 5th-tier yin and yang rock and crossed mountains and rivers. When he could no longer sense the auras of the 3 great Dao realm experts from the Bone tribe, he finally stopped and entered a deep mountain forest with dense vegetation. After wiping out over 10 branch tribes of the bug race, killing the bug race's young paragon, killing 3 great Dao realm experts of the bug race, and seizing their strongest Dao weapon, he felt a little better. Quite a lot of the fury in his chest had been vented out. Not enough! I'll continue later, he muttered to himself coldly. In his mind, the image of little AI crying out in pain before she died lingered. Every time he thought of it, his heart would ache. His eyes were cold, and killing intent intertwined within them. He would not rest until he wiped out the insect tribe. After a pause, he found a hidden place in this old forest. After setting up some restriction runes, he sat down cross-legged, closed his eyes, and began to regulate his breathing and cultivate. During this period of time, too many insect tribe cultivators died in his hands. Through the blood massacre, he vented his anger. At the same time, he felt that his cultivation base had loosened. It seemed that he was about to break through to the third tier of the immortal ascension realm. He sat there cross-legged and closed his eyes slightly. The Sun Heart Sutra immediately circulated, and specks of golden light penetrated his body. Buzz! He immersed his divine sense in his body, tempering his divine power. At the same time, he used his divine power to temper his flesh and blood, repeating the cycle. In the outside world, the three great Tao realm experts of the Bone tribe searched for Lin Tian for a long time, but they couldn't find the slightest trace of Lin Tian's aura. In the end, they could only roar and scatter. At the same time, the news of the annihilation of the Arachnid branch tribes near the Golden Splitting Mountain range spread, causing a huge shock in the fourth heaven. Because this news not only included the annihilation of the Arachnid branch tribes, but also the death of the young Supreme Arachnid. Even the strongest Arachnid treasure weapon of the Arachnid race was taken away. What? Did that man really go there? He really went there. The young insect tribe supreme expert was killed, leaving only the head of his main body. All the members of that branch tribe were wiped out. Moreover, the strongest precious weapon that the insect clan had set up there was also taken away by that person. Really? Of course it's true. Someone saw it with their own eyes. At that time, I heard that the great Tao realm experts of the Bone tribe, the Ant tribe, and the Dark Shadow tribe chased after that man, but in the end, the three great Tao realm experts all returned in exasperation. It seems that they couldn't catch that man. What? After killing the insect tribe cultivators, he faced the three great Tao realm experts of the Bone tribe and the other great Tao realm experts, but he wasn't captured? He escaped unscathed? This? How can he be so abnormal? I don't believe it either. But this is the truth. The fourth heaven was in an uproar. After hearing this news, many cultivators were shocked and horrified. Chapter 719. Genius 1 second remember, providing you with wonderful novels to read. The entire fourth heaven was in an uproar. Many cultivators were stunned. He clearly knew that it was a trap, but he still rushed in alone, killing the young paragon of the insectoid race, slaughtering a large branch of the insectoid race, and snatching away the strongest treasure of the insectoid race. After that, he even escaped unscathed from the hands of three great Tao realm powerhouses. Literature building, what kind of strength is this? This freak! This is really heaven-defying! After hearing this news, many cultivators couldn't help but shrink their necks. It's too fierce. I heard that that person is just a rogue cultivator, and the technique he displayed has nothing to do with any race in this world. Such a rogue cultivator is simply too powerful. Some people's hearts trembled. For a time, the entire fourth heaven was discussing Lin Tian. The insect race can be considered to have suffered a double loss this time. Those big shots are probably going crazy. Isn't that so? More than a dozen branch tribes were massacred, the young supreme expert was killed, and the strongest treasure was taken away. I guess some big shots are vomiting blood. They plan to force that person to show up, but the result is still like this. However, they deserve it. Someone agreed and echoed. They deserve it. This daddy wants to laugh out loud now. It's best if this bloodline is wiped out. There are also several other big races, but none of them are good. They are either sinister or overbearing. It's best if they are all wiped out. Yeah. Many cultivators discussed. The insect race, the main race in the center. A roar resounded through the sky, coming from the main palace in the center of the insect race. Inside the main palace, the clan leader of this bloodline and the other important figures of the insect race all had crazed and ferocious expressions. Their young supreme being had devised an overt plot, bringing along their strongest precious weapon and traveling with three great Tao elites. They had laid down such a trap to kill Lin Tian, but in the end, it was their young supreme being who had been killed. Three great Tao elites had fallen, and their strongest precious weapon had been taken away. This loss was too great. It was as if they had cut off an entire arm of the insect race, Kill! We must kill him! A big shot roared. Literature building, inside the main hall, a murderous aura soared into the clouds, causing the void to tremble. On this very day, a fifth firmament great Tao expert walked out of the insect race. He was overflowing with killing intent and vowed to kill Lin Tian. As a result, the cultivation world became even more chaotic. The insect race frantically searched for Lin Tian and hunted down Lin Tian. The ant race, dark shadow race, and bone race were also doing the same. They all sent experts to search for Lin Tian's whereabouts, hoping to find him and rip him to shreds. 5 days passed in the blink of an eye. Lin Tian lived deep in the mountains and forests. He quietly sat cross-legged in a secluded place, circulating the Sun Heart Sutra to cultivate. Buzz! Golden light flowed on the surface of his body. He was focused on refining his divine power and using it to reconstruct his body. Now that he had entered the Immortal Ascension realm, the cultivation of the Immortal Ascension realm was to refine his divine power and use it to reconstruct his physical body and spirit. This was to better understand the Great Tao and bear it in the future. He sat cross-legged, his entire person appearing very ethereal. His flesh and blood glowed, and bits of sparkling light flowed on the surface of his body. Just like that, another 6 hours quickly passed. Boom! At this moment, a strong force suddenly surged out of his body, turning into a violent hurricane that swept out in all directions. This hurricane lasted for a full 7 to 8 breaths of time before it stopped, causing the surroundings to become calm again. Lin Tian opened his eyes. 2 streaks of light flashed past, and then he stood up. He clenched his fists, clearly feeling that the divine power in his body had become denser and purer. Moreover, his physique had also improved, becoming stronger under the refinement of the divine power. Third firmament of the Immortal Ascension realm, he muttered to himself. He clenched his fist slightly and looked out of the forest. His eyes were cold. After removing the formation patterns, he walked out of the forest. Not long after, he walked out of the old forest and heard many voices in the cultivation world. Literature building. The insect race has sent out another great Tao realm expert, vowing to hunt down that person. The ant race and the dark shadow race have also each sent out a great Tao realm expert, and many half-step great Tao realm cultivators have walked out, cooperating with them to track down that person's tracks. It's said that the insect race's enlightenment realm ancestor has been alarmed and is furious. He might come out personally. The bone race still has that great Tao realm expert outside, but they aren't as crazy as the other 3 races. It's dangerous for one person to face the 4 major races alone. In the cultivation world, such voices could be heard everywhere. Lin Tian walked out of the old forest. His eyes were cold, and there were no fluctuations in his emotions. He walked along some winding paths, and not long after, he arrived in front of a stone village. It was another branch of the insect race. He stood 1,000 feet away and silently scanned with his divine sense. He didn't discover any danger, and then he strode forward. An immortal sword appeared in his hand, and he walked step by step toward the branch of the insect race. He didn't hide his killing intent at all. Outside this branch of the insect race cultivators guarding this branch were on guard. They were dozens of times more serious than before. At this moment, when they saw Lin Tian approaching and saw his appearance clearly, their expressions instantly changed. That person is here to kill! All of a sudden, some of the guards howled and scrambled into the tribe. During this period, Lin Tian had consecutively slaughtered 13 branch tribes of the insect race, killed the young supreme being of the insect race, and seized the strongest precious weapon of the insect race. This already made all the insect race cultivators know what Lin Tian looked like, and they were very afraid of Lin Tian. Now, Lin Tian had come here, so how could the insect race cultivators here not be afraid? Lin Tian's footsteps were steady as he walked straight in. Without saying anything, he directly swung his sword, and the sword rays swept through the world. In the blink of an eye, dozens of insect race cultivators in front of him fell into a pool of blood, dying before they could even let out a scream. The branch chief here walked out. He was a half-stepped Great Tao Realm expert and was very strong, but at this moment, he was staring at Lin Tian with fear. He put on a strong front and said, "Two Great Tao Realm Grand Elders of our race are here, and you still dare to act like this?" Clang! The sound of the sword was ear-piercing. Lin Tian did not say anything and directly executed the High Heaven Sword Manual, slashing out 108 fatal sword rays. Now that he had stepped into the third heaven of the immortal ascension realm, whether it was his divine consciousness, physique, divine power, or speed, he had improved in all aspects. His strength had become stronger, and the pressure of a half-stepped Great Tao Realm cultivator naturally decreased by a lot. The half-stepped Great Tao Realm expert of the insect race roared and resisted, but he was defeated repeatedly. In the end, he was mercilessly killed by Lin Tian. Then, the sword rays swept through the branch tribe, cold and eerie. Ah! Miserable screams became the only sound here. An hour later, Lin Tian walked out of this place, leaving behind a ground full of blood and corpses. This was the 14th branch tribe of the insect race that he had slaughtered. After leaving this place, he did not stop. He walked around and stopped. Not long after, he arrived at the 15th branch tribe of the insect race and mercilessly slaughtered it. Then, the immortal sword in his hand was stained with blood as he killed the 16th branch tribe. For a time, the entire region trembled. "My God, he's really a peerless, ruthless person!" The insect race, ant race, dark shadow race, bone race, and several other large races have Great Tao Realm experts chasing after him. He actually dares to do this. Does he really not take Great Tao Realm experts seriously at all? He's too fierce. Many people's hearts palpitated. The few Great Tao Realm experts of the insect race who walked out were naturally furious. They quickly chased after the place where Lin Tian had appeared. Moreover, the Great Tao Realm experts of the ant race, dark shadow race, and bone race also chased after him. However, there were no substantial results each time. They only reached the place where Lin Tian had appeared, but they did not see Lin Tian in person. At the same time, more and more shocking news kept spreading. The 17th branch tribe of the insect race has been completely slaughtered. Not a single insect race cultivator walked out alive. The 18th branch tribe of the insect race has been torn apart by the fallen wild stream. The 19th branch tribe of the insect race has been wiped out. All of them, including 3 half-step Great Tao Realm experts, died in battle. The 20th branch tribe of the insect race has been destroyed. The 21st branch tribe of the insect race has been destroyed. The news spread like wildfire in all directions. In just 7 days, several more branch tribes of the insect race were destroyed. The 2 Great Tao Realm experts of the insect race who walked out were almost crazy. They roared angrily, and their killing intent was shocking. However, there was nothing they could do. Although they were very powerful, and although they immediately rushed over after learning that Lin Tian had appeared in a certain location, they couldn't obtain any results at all. Instead, they seemed to be led by the nose by Lin Tian. The 22nd branch tribe of the insect race has been destroyed. Another piece of news spread. In the entire 4th heaven, everyone was shocked. Many people's hearts were beating wildly. The insect race has really kicked an iron plate this time, provoking a peerless malefic star that hasn't appeared in 10,000 years. Too ruthless. Slaughtering 22 branch tribes, this is simply. A quarter of the insect race has already been destroyed. Every cultivator's heart palpitated. At the same time, the various branch tribes of the insect race felt as if they were facing a great enemy. Every one of them was terrified. As for the important figures of the insect race's main race, they roared angrily. The patriarch of this branch was so angry that he coughed out a few mouthfuls of blood essence. "Gather all the branch tribes! Gather them in one place!" The patriarch of this branch roared. The other important figures' faces turned ugly. "Patriarch, do we really have to do this? This will damage the face of our race. What else can we do? There are only 6 Great Tao Realm experts left in the main race. It's impossible to divide them equally among the branch tribes. Now, it's useless to hunt down that bastard. Under such circumstances, if we don't gather all the branch tribes together, are we going to watch that bastard slaughter us one by one? The patriarch of this branch roared at the important figure of the insect race who spoke. The important figure of the insect race who spoke trembled, and his face became even more ugly. On this day, many powerhouses of the insect race walked out and walked towards the various branch tribes. Then, the branch tribes began to move towards the main race. Such a movement couldn't be said to be small, and it immediately caused many cultivators in the fourth heaven to tremble. The various branch tribes of the insect race actually began to move? They are actually moving towards the main race. They were forced to this extent. The cultivators weren't stupid. They naturally understood why the insect race made such a big move. It was related to Lin Tian's recent actions. Just one person, he actually forced a major clan to unite all the branch tribes. This is simply. Many cultivators felt their hearts palpitate. Chapter 720. Genius 1 second. Remember, providing you with wonderful novels to read. Please go to Literature Building. The great migration of the insect race shocked many cultivators in the fourth heaven. Lin Tian naturally knew about it. His eyes were indifferent. Not long after, he appeared on the peak of a mountain and looked down. Looking at the Literature Building, a group of insect race cultivators gathered together and were moving in the direction of the main race in an orderly manner. There were a few half-step Great Tao Realm experts among them. Increase your speed! A half-step Great Tao Realm expert shouted. The group of insect race cultivators looked nervous, and their footsteps immediately became faster. Lin Tian stood on the mountain peak. With a wave of his left hand, he took out a golden bow. This bow was a high-grade treasure. He had obtained it in the second heaven and hadn't used it for a long time. He held the golden bow in his left hand and raised his right hand. Immediately, 3 golden arrows appeared. He knocked all of them on the bowstring, pulled them into a full moon shape, and then released them. Whoosh! 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 3 arrows flew out like 3 bolts of lightning, instantly cutting through the sky and exploding 3 immortal realm experts. Who is it? Defense alert! Come out! The group of insect race cultivators immediately fell into chaos, and their expressions changed. A few half-step Great Tao Realm experts directly looked at the mountain peak. It's you again! Staring at Lin Tian, the few half-step Great Tao Realm experts were shocked and angry. At the same time, there was a look of fear in their eyes. Lin Tian didn't say anything. Standing on the mountain peak, he took out 3 golden arrows again, raised his hand, and pulled the bow, releasing the 3 arrows. After that, he didn't stop and continued to pull the bow. In the blink of an eye, dozens of arrows turned into lightning and rushed down the mountain, arriving in the middle of the group of insect race cultivators, bringing with them streams of dazzling blood and miserable screams. He stood on the mountain peak without moving. After the arrows were released, he used the weapon control technique to control them. At the same time, he used it to form an arrow formation, enveloping the group of insect race cultivators and mercilessly slaughtering them. Stop! A half-step Great Tao Realm expert roared and rushed toward Lin Tian. However, in the next moment, he was greeted by a divine and sacred painting. Literature Building, Reincarnation Painting. Pooh! Without a doubt, under the suppression of the King's Territory reincarnation diagram, the bug race half-step Great Tao expert was sent flying while coughing blood. His body was covered in cracks as he let out a tragic cry. Meanwhile, after this, the reincarnation diagram didn't stop. Like a stream of stars, it crushed down again. The half-step Great Tao expert from the bug race cried out in horror. However, he didn't even have the time to cast his divine powers before he was crushed by the reincarnation diagram. He was reduced to a bloody mist on the spot. All of a sudden, the insect cultivators were even more terrified. They were all in caves and fled in all directions. Unfortunately, it was useless. Lin Tian stood at the peak of the mountain and controlled dozens of arrows with his art of weapon control, unleashing a massacre in all directions. At the same time, the portrait of Samsara was raised once again, pressuring the other two half-step great Tao experts. It was also at this moment that he tilted his head and looked towards the southeast. In that direction, there were two extremely powerful waves of Tao laws surging. Two figures were rushing towards him at high speed. "It's the Grand Elders of my clan!" The insect cultivators were pleasantly surprised. Lin Tian's expression did not change. He took a step down from the mountain peak and activated the reincarnation painting of the King territory with all his might, suppressing the insect race cultivators. Pooh! 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 Under the reincarnation painting, how could the insect race cultivators resist? In the blink of an eye, a large group of them exploded. Bastard! The two great Tao experts of the insect race rushed over and immediately glared at him furiously. Lin Tian completely ignored them and used the reincarnation painting to suppress the insect race cultivators again, killing another large group of them. Then, he put away the reincarnation painting and dozens of golden arrows, stepped on the fifth layer in Yang Ho, and instantly disappeared into the distance like a bolt of golden lightning. The two great Tao experts of the insect race roared furiously and chased after him. However, Lin Tian's speed was too fast. Even the fifth firmament great Tao experts couldn't catch up to him, and were soon left far behind. After shaking off the two great Tao experts, Lin Tian appeared in various locations one after another, constantly killing the Bug Clan cultivators who were in the midst of migrating. This infuriated the Bug Clan, but there was nothing they could do. This was because every time Lin Tian made a slight move, he would kill a group of Bug Clan cultivators before moving far away. His speed was so fast that even a fifth firmament great Tao expert could not catch up to him. As such, the insect race could only frantically increase their migration speed. At the same time, the main tribes sent out more experts to protect them. Not long after, under Lin Tian's repeated attacks, the insect race finally completed their migration. The remaining dozens of branch tribes all gathered at the central main tribe. Damn it! Kill! We must kill him! Destroy his soul and kill all 9 generations of his family. In the central temple of the insect race's main tribe, angry roars could be heard. The migration this time had completely humiliated them, but they had never thought that they would be attacked by Lin Tian time and time again during the process of migration. Many of their clansmen had died, which made the important figures of the insected race go mad with rage. This angry roar came from the central temple of the main tribe, shocking some of the cultivators who passed by. The insect race is really unlucky this time. They were forced to such a state by an immortal channeling cultivator. What a disgrace. Serves them right. They're so cruel that they feed their larvae with the blood essence of living creatures. This is retribution, these cultivators whispered. At the same time, even though they didn't hear the angry roar from the main tribe of the insect race, the cultivation world couldn't help but discuss what was happening to the insect race. Some shook their heads, some mocked them, but of course, most of them were shocked by Lin Tian. A demonic young man who values love, someone commented. For the sake of an ordinary village, he fought alone against a large clan to such an extent. This wasn't something an ordinary person could do. Yet, he was able to force a large clan to such an extent by himself. How terrifying was his strength! Lin Tian stood silently on the peak of a mountain and looked in the direction of the main tribe of the insect race. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and then he calmed down. He had annihilated several subclans of the insect clan, killed 3 great path cultivators, killed the young supreme being of this lineage, and snatched away his most powerful precious weapon. He had forced this lineage to migrate to the center of the insect clan and reunite with the main clan, causing this lineage to lose all face. Now, he had vented most of the anger in his heart. Most importantly, his current strength was still somewhat lacking. It was impossible for him to go to the center of the insect clan's main clan, where there was a super cultivator of the enlightening realm in charge. I need to improve my strength as soon as possible. he looked coldly in the direction of the central temple of the insect race. Finally, he turned around and left the mountain peak. Now, his speed was very fast. However, his cultivation was still a little lacking. He needed to improve his cultivation as soon as possible. After leaving this mountain peak, he entered another great mountain. He found a secluded place and immersed himself in cultivation. He refined his divine power and used his divine power to reconstruct his body. The Heart of Sun Sutra circulated at an extremely fast speed. At the same time, the pursuit of the insect race didn't stop. The ant race, dark shadow race, and bone race were naturally the same. They searched the entire fourth heaven for Lin Tian's traces, but it was difficult to make any substantial progress. This heaven is so big, how easy is it to find a person? If others find a place to hide and cultivate, it's impossible for several great path cultivators to find them. Even Nirvana realm powerhouses can't do it. That's right. Some cultivators discussed. The insect race, ant race, dark shadow race, and other powerhouses naturally knew this, but how could they be willing to stop the pursuit of Lin Tian? In the blink of an eye, a month passed. Boom! On this day, in a primeval forest in the southern part of the fourth heaven, a loud roar suddenly sounded. Several continuous mountain ranges collapsed, revealing a corner of the underground world. A shocking amount of death energy rushed out from it. At the same time, a bright divine light rushed into the sky, penetrating directly into the sky, as if it was going to penetrate the stars. All of a sudden, the entire fourth heaven was shaken. All the cultivators looked towards the south, all of them shocked. What a strong death energy, what is that place? You're focusing on the wrong thing. It's obvious that the divine light is the main one. It's simply a miracle. Many people were shocked. Lin Tian was naturally awakened by this commotion. He walked out of his cultivation and climbed to the top of the mountain, looking towards the south. Over there, the aura of death coiled around and surged upwards, and it interweaved with an extremely horrifying coldness. However, amongst all of this, the divine light that shot into the sky was undoubtedly the most dazzling. It was filled with a divine and auspicious aura that didn't disperse for a long time. Seeing this divine light, even Lin Tian was shocked. He was instinctively attracted to it, and stared straight at it. At this moment, he was standing on the top of the mountain. There were cultivators gathering in the distance. Because his spiritual sense and divine sense are very strong, some of their voices were transmitted to his ears. Some old powerhouses said that it might be a battlefield in ancient times, and there should be a lot of treasures inside. I don't know if there are other treasures, but the divine light alone isn't simple. The thing that emitted that light must be an earth-shattering super treasure. Yes. I heard that the powerhouses of the major clans have already set off to that place. Even the holy sons of several major clans have already set off. Their goal is the same, to seize the treasure that emitted that divine light. Some other powerful rogue cultivators have also gone there. Many people are heading there. But although there may be rare treasures inside, and the thing that emitted the divine light must be extraordinary, no matter how I look at it, it's an extremely dangerous place. Are we really going there? Nonsense, of course we are going there. That place is very dangerous. Who doesn't know that? But since ancient times, rare treasures are often found in danger. This is the truth. If we don't want to take any risks, are we going to wait for the treasure to fly to us? The cultivator who said, "That place is dangerous," was speechless. Lin Tian was at the top of the mountain. Listening to these people's discussion, he looked toward the south, and his eyes flashed. At this moment, the divine light that had shot up had already dissipated, but his gaze was still fixed on it. "Let's go and take a look." After a moment, he said in his heart, and directly flew toward the south. That area was filled with the aura of death. It was a land of evil and was very dangerous. However, it often nurtured all kinds of opportunities. Especially that divine light that shot up, it was too extraordinary and shocking. Now, he wanted to become stronger and improve his cultivation as soon as possible. Such a place was undoubtedly worth his time. Perhaps he would be able to reap great rewards. P.S. I've been writing since 9 in the morning. It took me more than 4 hours to edit and edit. I'm depressed. The update is a little late. Everyone, please forgive me. Chapter 721. Genius 1 second. Remember, I'll provide you with wonderful novels to read. Lin Tian moved very quickly. Soon, he arrived near the primordial forest where the divine light had appeared. As far as the eye could see, a few mountains in the primordial forest had collapsed. There was a huge crack in the mountains, and strands of black-green mist drifted out from within. Because he had been in the limelight recently, he was currently wrapped in a black cloak to cover his face. He had engraved some special formation patterns on the cloak, which were difficult to see through with divine consciousness. He did not want to attract attention because it would more or less affect him. This underground world is thousands of feet deep from the surface. Thousands of feet deep underground. This is unimaginable. I can see light flickering in the underground space. There's indeed a rare treasure. Many people had already gathered in the mountain range. They were all looking down through the crack. Boom! In the distance, divine energy surged. A group of figures rushed over, all of them shrouded in faint light and emitting extraordinary auras. The Bone Clan! In the mountain, many cultivators were shocked. There were dozens of people from the Bone Clan. All of them had thick blood chi and faint light intertwined on the surface of their bodies, giving off an extraordinary feeling. Among them, the leader was the most outstanding. He looked very young, but the aura he naturally emitted was astonishing. The Bone Clan's holy son! It's said that he has reached the 8th heaven of the immortal ascension realm. His strength is terrifying, someone said. Suddenly, in the east, the ground shook violently, and a giant figure strode over. It was a giant, about 10 feet tall. He had a majestic body and held a stone axe. The giant clan's holy son! Some cultivators' hearts trembled. Heroic laughter sounded from the southwest. More than 10 figures stepped on the void and walked over. Their auras were also very strong. Many cultivators were shocked. The Wind Clan is also here. The holy son of this clan is among them. The Bone Clan, the Giant Clan, and the Wind Clan were all second-level forces in this realm. They were not to be underestimated. At this moment, the people from these 3 clans were all very powerful. Their auras were extraordinary, and for a moment, many cultivators in the mountain range fell silent. These 3 clans were indeed very strong. Moreover, the holy sons of the 3 clans were all here. They were known as the supreme figures of the same generation. The appearance of 3 of them together naturally shocked these people. Rumor has it that the holy sons of several large clans are coming. It's true. In that case, this place really isn't ordinary. Otherwise, it wouldn't have attracted such a young supreme being here. Not bad. I reckon the holy sons of other large clans will be arriving soon. Is this for real? I can't be sure, but the possibility is very high. Some cultivators whispered. Lin Tian stood in the distance, scanning the Bone Race, Giant Race, and Wind Race holy sons under his cloak, a faint light flashing across his eyes. With just a glance, he could sense that the 3 of them were extraordinary. They were slightly more powerful than the young supremes of the Ant tribe and the Insect tribe. Of course, they were only slightly more powerful than the young supremes of the Ant tribe and the Insect tribe. Among the 3, he especially looked at the Bone Race's holy son. After all, he and the Bone Race were now enemies. Boom! Suddenly, a rumbling sound came from the depths of the ground. It was as if thousands of soldiers and horses were galloping underground. The sound was so loud that it was frightening. What was that sound? Did something happen underground? I think I hear the sound of weapons. The expressions of some cultivators on the mountain changed. Boom! The rumbling sound came from the ground again. This time, it was as if a tsunami was rolling, deafening everyone's ears. Moreover, at the same time, rolling inchi soared into the sky, far denser than before. It was as if endless dark clouds were rushing into the sky. In an instant, a large part of the sky was dyed black, and the real clouds in the sky were covered at this moment. All the cultivators around were shocked. They all looked over and stared straight at the huge crack. Lin Tian's gaze naturally fell on the huge crack. He stared at the billowing yin energy, and suddenly frowned slightly. In the next moment, a loud rumbling sound was heard. The ground shook violently. A group of yin soldiers rushed out of the crack. Their flesh was rotten, and their killing intent was soaring. Yin soldiers? Why are there so many of them? The crowd exclaimed. In an instant, nearly 1,000 yin soldiers rushed out from the big crack. Their flesh was rotten, and their eyes were blood-red. Some of them were holding swords, while others were holding spears. Although they were covered in rust, they still looked very cold. These yin soldiers are not ordinary. They are very strong. There are too many of them. Retreat! Someone shouted. The cultivators who came here were not weak. They would not be afraid in the face of ordinary yin soldiers. However, at this time, there were too many yin soldiers rushing out, and all of them were very strong. These cultivators were shocked. Boom! A powerful killing intent swept through the space. In the blink of an eye, more yin soldiers rushed out, bringing with them a thick fog of death. It almost dyed the entire old forest with a layer of death aura, which made people's hearts tremble. This scene was shocking. At this time, thousands of yin soldiers rushed out. They were like an immortal torrent of death that wanted to destroy everything. Clang! 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 The sound of weapons rang out. These yin soldiers rushed out. Each of them had blood-red eyes. The rusty swords, spears, and halberds in their hands were trembling. They directly crushed the nearby cultivators. Poof! Blood splattered, and the heads of cultivators fell to the ground. A group of yin soldiers rushed by, and the corpses were trampled into a cloud of blood. The powerful yin soldiers rushed in all directions. They were very fast, and there were so many of them that almost nothing could stop them. Even the powerful airborne realm cultivators turned pale at this moment. It was difficult to resist such a torrent of death. Arg! A scream was heard. A group of cultivators quickly fled into the distance. Thousands of yin soldiers rushed out. The black fog of death was turbulent and rolling. Everywhere they passed, blood splattered. Moreover, there were more yin soldiers coming out from the depths of the big crack. Many people could not help but tremble. There are too many! Why are there so many yin soldiers? How many people have died in the battlefield below? Retreat! Retreat first! A group of cultivators yelled. All the cultivators in the mountain retreated. At this time, there were too many yin soldiers rushing out, and they were not ordinary. They were like a torrent of death, very terrifying. It was definitely not a rational thing to face such a torrent of death head-on. Humph! A cold snort was heard, and many of the yin soldiers trembled. The Bone Clan's holy son stepped out, and a bone knife appeared in his hand. With a wave of his hand, a large amount of divine light pressed down, and hundreds of yin soldiers were shattered, turning into wisps of dust and falling to the ground. Friends in front, please step aside. The Wind Clan's holy son stepped out, raised his right hand, and casually slapped forward. With a boom, a gust of wind swept out, crushing hundreds of yin soldiers. On the other side, the Giant Clan's holy son also made his move. With a sweep of the stone axe in his hand, thousands of yin soldiers were shattered into dust. So strong! Staring at the three of them, many cultivators sucked in a breath of cold air. In the distance, Lin Tian was hidden under his cloak. His expression was normal, and he just stared at the big black crack. Boom! The Bone Clan's holy son, the Wind Clan's holy son, and the Giant Clan's holy son, these three experts made their moves. Three different kinds of forces interweaved in this space, crushing the yin soldiers that rushed out. In the blink of an eye, all of them were turned into ashes. For a time, the space suddenly became clear again, and the dense cold aura dissipated a lot. The Bone Clan's holy son's expression was indifferent. He stepped out and directly disappeared into the huge crack, rushing into the underground world. The Wind Clan's holy son said something to the people behind him, and his figure flashed, leaving behind an afterimage as he shot into the crack. The Giant Clan's holy son stepped forward, and the ground shook. He leaped over and jumped into the huge crack. All around, the crowd was shocked, and then they swarmed forward. Thousands of Aeon's soldiers rushed out. There must be a lot of rare treasures down there. These cultivators were excited. In the blink of an eye, most of the cultivators in the forest rushed into the underground world. Lin Tian stood in the void in the distance. Naturally, he did not stay for long. He stepped out and also disappeared into the crack. He descended. There were rocks and layers of soil on both sides of the fissure. After descending for about 1,000 feet, the rocks and layers of soil on both sides of the fissure disappeared. Then, he descended for another 2,000 feet before stepping on the soil. At this moment, the ground he stepped on was wet with many small puddles, and a foul smell floated in the air. He raised his head and gazed into the distance. He discovered that the underground space was extremely vast. It was difficult to tell just how large it was. He could even see patches of yellow mountains in this space. It seemed very unusual. Ling Jing! A cultivator shouted. There were many cultivators who rushed into the underground world. Soon, some of them found some good items. Lin Tian tilted his head, and his gaze fell on a stretch of withered yellow mountains in the distance. He vaguely remembered that the divine light that rushed up before came from the depths of that mountain range. Staring there, he did not linger, and stepped over in a flash. He was very fast. Soon, he arrived in front of the withered yellow mountains and went straight into it. Walking in this withered yellow mountain range, he saw many withered plants on the mountain. They were pitch black, and the temperature in the air had obviously become colder. It was as if he had come to an underground snow mountain. Whoosh! A ghost claw suddenly reached out from the ground and grabbed his left leg tightly, as if it wanted to drag him into the underworld. He did not even look at it. He activated the Heart Sutra of Sun, and divine power surged out, directly shattering the ghost's claw. Little ghost, how dare you stop this king? A cold voice came from not far away. Lin Tian tilted his head and looked. The Bone Clan's holy son entered the mountain range and killed a ghost comparable to the peak of the flight realm with a raise of his hand. At the same time, powerful fluctuations of divine power came from two other directions. The Wind Clan's holy son and the Giant Clan's holy son also stepped into this place and destroyed several ghosts, blocking the way. A glimmer of light flashed in Lin Tian's eyes. Obviously, these three people were also here for the divine light that rushed up before. Without stopping, he stepped forward and stepped into the depths of this mountain range. Boom! A fierce ghost appeared, and the aura of death intertwined. The ghost claw grabbed at him. His expression was indifferent. Dots of golden light intertwined in his right hand, and with a slap, he directly crushed it. As he traveled through the mountain range, his steps were steady, but his speed was extremely fast. He killed one ghost after another that blocked his way, and before long, he appeared in a small valley. The valley was filled with piles of corpses, and the stench of rotting flesh was unbearable. Amidst the rotting corpses, there was a small purple tree that was about 5 feet tall. It bore a fist-sized, blood-colored fruit. Blood Kirin fruit? A look of surprise flashed in Lin Tian's eyes. Chapter 722. The blood Kirin fruit was similar to the fruit of life. It was a fruit borne by a strange tree that grew from endless life essence. Not only did it contain amazing vitality and spiritual chi of heaven and earth, but it could also prolong one's life. It was a rare treasure. If it was used to cultivate, anyone below the 9th tier of the Ascension Immortal Realm would be able to raise their cultivation level by a small level in a short time. Lin Tian's eyes flashed with surprise. He had once obtained a tree of life in the first heaven, but the tree of life didn't bear the fruit of life at that time. He didn't expect to find a treasure tree similar to the tree of life here. Moreover, this treasure tree had been growing for a long time and had borne fruit. It exuded a strong fruity fragrance among the rotten corpses. Without hesitation, he stepped forward and quickly came to the purple treasure tree. He carefully reached out his hand to pick the blood-kirin fruit. With this, he could quickly reach the fourth tier of the Ascension Immortal Realm. Chi! Suddenly, a blue killing light rushed over quickly. Lin Tian was shocked. He dodged and retreated, failing to pick the blood-kirin fruit. In the distance, a young man walked over. His eyes were shining as he stared at the blood-kirin fruit. "This is mine," the young man said coldly. Lin Tian looked up, and his eyes immediately turned cold. This young man was the Bone Clan's holy son. He didn't say anything. He stepped forward and rushed toward the blood-kirin fruit. The Bone Clan's holy son snorted and stepped forward. Just now, he had come from another place, and after killing many ghosts, he also came to this place. Coincidentally, he saw that Lin Tian was about to pick a fruit, and when he looked at it, he found that it was actually a blood-kirin fruit. Immediately, he slashed out a killing sword light, stopping Lin Tian from picking the fruit. He wanted to take the blood-kirin fruit for himself. Buzz! At this moment, a bone blade appeared in his hand. The blade was blue in color, and it mercilessly slashed towards Lin Tian. At the same time, his other hand reached for the blood-kirin fruit. "I said this thing belongs to me." Lin Tian's eyes were cold as he threw a punch. His tyrannical physique shook the void as he smashed the bone blade into pieces. At the same time, the holy son of the Bone Clan was knocked back several feet. The holy son of the Bone Clan was shocked. As a member of the Bone Clan, his bone body was different from that of ordinary humans. He was born as a weapon and was indestructible. He was especially talented. After reaching the 8th heaven of the connecting immortal realm, his bone body was as hard as a high-grade celestial artifact. But now, it was smashed by a single punch. He stared at Lin Tian and narrowed his eyes. Interesting. As soon as he finished speaking, a blue bone blade appeared in his hand again. Moreover, this time, there were strands of brilliance entwining around it. It was enchanted with the power of a divine ability. "I'll kill you first, then take the blood-kirin fruit." The holy son of the Bone Clan appeared to be very powerful. With a slash of his blade, killing light filled the sky, forming a sea of blue light. This killing light was somewhat terrifying. It sealed off all directions and silently moved closer to the center, trapping Lin Tian. Lin Tian stared at the blood-kirin fruit and did not say anything. He directly pressed down with his fists. His pure physical strength shattered everything, including the void. He smashed the sea of blue light that filled the sky and went straight for the blood-kirin fruit. The holy son of the Bone Clan's eyes turned cold. "How dare you try to take the fruit when you're fighting with me? You're courting death!" With a boom, a sky full of bone blades suddenly rushed out from his body. Each bone blade was emitting killing light. In the blink of an eye, they surrounded all directions. "1,000 killing bones, see!" The holy son of the Bone Clan's voice was cold. Suddenly, the sky full of bone blades surrounded him and crushed a part of the space. This was a very powerful divine ability of the Bone Clan. It was one of the core secret skills and was extremely terrifying. Lin Tian's heart froze, and a celestial sword appeared in his hand. He directly displayed the heavenly sword scripture. Dozens of sword lights swept across the sky with the force of breaking the sky, slashing at all the bone blades that surrounded him. Boom! Violent divine power interweaved. Blade bones crumbled one after another, and sword gleams exploded one after another. The holy son of the Bone Clan was forced back more than 30 feet, and his eyes were filled with shock. Lin Tian retreated more than 20 feet. At the same time, the cloak that covered his body was torn apart by the violent divine power fluctuations, revealing his true appearance. "It's you!" The shock in the holy son's eyes intensified. Then, his expression turned cold, and his killing intent intensified. Lin Tian had killed many Bone Clan powerhouses and was already on the Bone Clan's blacklist. The holy son of the Bone Clan naturally knew about Lin Tian. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. He threw off the torn cloak. Suddenly, he paused and tilted his head slightly to look outside the small valley. There were several powerful divine powers approaching. Some of them were not weaker than the holy son of the Bone Clan. His expression turned serious. Without hesitation, he shook the immortal sword in his hand and activated the heavenly sword scripture to its current limit. He guessed that the divine powers approaching were most likely the holy sons of the other major clans. If these people were to come closer, it would be much more troublesome for him to obtain the blood Kirin fruit. He had to obtain the blood Kirin fruit before they arrived. Clang! The sword light clanged. 108 heavenly sword lights were unleashed, slashing at the holy son of the Bone Clan. At the same time, with a buzz, the reincarnation portrait of the king's territory rushed up and pressed down on the holy son of the Bone Clan. In an instant, the entire space began to shake. After that, he did not stop. He directly stepped on the 5th level Yin and Yang Ho and arrived next to the blood Kirin fruit in a flash. The holy son of the Bone Clan's expression changed. He never thought that Lin Tian would suddenly use such a terrifying technique, and it was just a cover to get the blood Kirin fruit. At this time, he could not stop Lin Tian even if he wanted to. Facing 108 heavenly sword lights and the reincarnation portrait of the king's territory, he felt a great threat. He did not have time to stop Lin Tian. Damn it! He roared and used a great divine ability of the Bone Clan to block the 108 heavenly sword lights and the reincarnation portrait of the king's territory. All of a sudden, the entire small valley was shaking due to the strong collision. In the end, the holy son of the Bone Clan was blasted more than 10 feet away. His face turned pale and blood flowed down from the corners of his mouth. At this moment, Lin Tian had already gotten the blood Kirin fruit. Hand it over! The holy son of the Bone Clan said coldly as he strode forward. Lin Tian looked out of the small valley. The divine powers from just now were getting closer, so he did not stay there. After glancing at the holy son of the Bone Clan coldly, he stepped on the 5th level Yin and Yang Ho and left, disappearing from the valley in an instant. The holy son of the Bone Clan wanted to chase after him, but in the blink of an eye, he lost track of Lin Tian's aura and could not catch up at all. After leaving the small valley, Lin Tian stepped on the Yin and Yang Ho and walked for a long time before slowing down. He looked at the fist-sized blood Kirin fruit in his hand. The fruit was blood-red in color, as if it was made of blood. It was emitting a rich fragrance, and just a whiff of it made his pores expand. "I'll refine it after I get out," he muttered to himself and carefully put away the blood Kirin fruit. There were too many cultivators in this space, and the spiritual energy was also very scarce. Most of it was death aura. It was obviously not a suitable place to refine a heaven and earth treasure in such a place. He planned to leave this place and find a more secluded place with abundant spiritual energy to refine it. That way, it would be very safe and he would be able to fully absorb the power of the spirit Kirin fruit. After taking a deep breath, he continued to walk towards the depths of this withered yellow mountain range. The divine light that appeared previously was in the deepest part of this mountain range. "I wonder what that divine light is," he muttered to himself. That beam of divine light was extraordinary. It had attracted his attention the moment it appeared. He was still quite apprehensive even now. With a crack, a withered rock beside him shattered, and a rotten corpse was shaken out of it, pouncing directly at Lin Tian. Lin Tian slapped it to pieces with a backhand. He did not even look at it, and continued to walk deeper. This space was dark, and there were many forks in the mountain range. The deeper he went, the colder the air became. It was as if he was really walking in a 10,000-foot snow mountain. Roar! There was a strange cry, and an evil creature that looked like a yiksha appeared. It was surrounded by Yin mist, and it was comparable to a celestial ascension elite. Lin Tian still only raised his hand and slapped it to pieces. After that, he continued to walk deeper. Along the way, more and more evil spirits and ghosts appeared. There were even demons comparable to half-stepped Great Path realm that appeared. They fought with him for more than 100 breaths before they were killed. Whoosh! A cold wind blew, and the air became colder. In the blink of an eye, 2 hours passed. Lin Tian had no idea how far he had traveled. He only knew that there was still a very large distance between him and the depths of the mountain range. During this process, he searched the surroundings and found quite a few spirit crystals. Moreover, the quality of these spirit crystals was extremely shocking. The spirit energy within them was extremely dense. If I continue walking like this, I'll have to walk for at least another day or so, he whispered. He smashed a malicious spirit comparable to a 4th-tier Immortal Ascension Realm Elite and continued to walk deeper. However, at this moment, his expression changed. The ground under his feet suddenly shook violently as if there was a huge earthquake. Even someone as powerful as him felt that he could not stand steadily. Crack, crack, crack. The ground cracked inch by inch, and the cracks spread out like a spider web. Then, the ground completely shattered, and a huge creature emerged from the ground. It was more than 100 feet tall. This huge creature was in the shape of a crocodile. Its entire body was covered in purple scales, and there was a pair of huge wings on its back. There was a faint 5-colored luster flowing on it, causing Lin Tian's expression to change drastically. He had once seen this kind of creature in ancient books. It was a primordial ferocious beast known as the wishing crocodile. After it grew up naturally, it could directly control the great path of the 5 elements. It was very terrifying. At this moment, staring at this 100 feet tall wishing crocodile, his entire body turned cold. He could clearly feel a monstrous demonic aura. The strength of that demonic aura was not inferior to that of the nether demon dragon that he had encountered before. It was comparable to the peak of the Nirvana realm. Damn it, the earth path is still not fun to use. Next time, I won't dig the ground. I'll fly here. A voice floated out from the wishing crocodile's mouth. More than half of the coldness on Lin Tian's body disappeared. This terrifying wishing crocodile actually said, "Damn it! There's someone." The wishing crocodile stood up and stared at Lin Tian. Suddenly, there was a flash of light in its eyes. Its gaze fell on the stone ring on Lin Tian's right hand. It stretched out its huge claw and pointed in the air. "Tsk, little guy, is there a spiritual fruit inside? Don't deny it. Grandpa Crocodile has already sensed it. Quickly take it out and give it to Grandpa Crocodile." End of this chapter. Chapter 723. Lin Tian opened his mouth, and the cold feeling in his body disappeared completely. He stared at the huge wishing crocodile in front of him in a daze. Why does this prehistoric ferocious beast, which is comparable to the peak of the Nirvana realm, look like a hooligan? Just like a ruffian. "Little guy, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and give me the spirit fruit." The purple scales on the wishing crocodile's body were flowing with brilliance, and its demonic aura was extremely strong. Facing this wishing crocodile, Lin Tian didn't know how to evaluate it. After all, it was a prehistoric ferocious beast with strong records in ancient books. But now, the one in front of him was like a bandit, extorting a spirit fruit from him, a cultivator in the Immortal Ascension realm. "You're wrong. I don't have a spirit fruit with me." Facing this powerful wishing crocodile, he surprisingly didn't panic at this time. The wishing crocodile narrowed its eyes and looked down at Lin Tian. "Little guy, it's not good to lie. Lord Crocodile is giving you a chance. Hand over the spirit fruit obediently, and Lord Crocodile will forgive you. If you don't, don't blame Lord Crocodile for swallowing you." As it spoke, a faint demonic aura spread out, intertwining in the void. Lin Tian suddenly trembled and said, "Okay, I do have a spirit fruit, but it's only a blood-Kirin fruit. It's only effective in the Immortal Ascension realm. It's useless to you." He felt that he could still talk to this wishing crocodile. At least it wasn't like those evil beasts that wanted to kill all living creatures. He hoped to keep the blood-Kirin fruit in the stone ring. "Lord Crocodile will take it as a fragrant taste to moisten my throat." The wishing crocodile didn't care. Lin Tian didn't say anything else. He stepped directly on the yin-yang puppet, turned into a stream of light, and escaped into the distance. Trying to escape? The wishing crocodile stood up, waved its claws, and grabbed Lin Tian back. Suddenly, a terrifying pressure came from all directions, making Lin Tian feel as if he was going to break. Little brat, you don't know what's good for you. You forced Grandpa Crocodile to kill. Wishing Crocodile grabbed Lin Tian and stuffed it into its mouth. I'll eat you and the spiritual fruit together. It won't be a problem. Lin Tian trembled. His body was in so much pain that it felt like it was going to split apart. He finally began to panic. He struggled with all his might, his hands pressing down on Wishing Crocodile's claws, trying to push them away. TSK, little guy, you actually want to struggle in front of your Grandpa Crocodile. Interesting. Wishing Crocodile clicked its tongue. Lin Tian felt even more pain in his body. He couldn't help but groan. His body was ice cold. Wishing Crocodile laughed and said calmly, Give up, little guy. Your Grandpa Crocodile isn't Buzz! Suddenly, a circle of 7 colored lights spread out from Lin Tian's right hand. The sword pattern in it suddenly lit up. With a puff, blood splattered. Wishing Crocodile's claws, which were grabbing Lin Tian, were directly broken, and a large amount of blood splattered out. Ow! Wishing Crocodile cried out in pain. It instinctively let go of Lin Tian, and its injured claws quickly recovered to their original state. Little guy, what did you just do? Wishing Crocodile stared at Lin Tian, its pair of demonic eyes wide open. A mere immortal realm cultivator actually heard it. Lin Tian was also surprised. The sword pattern in his palm lit up, and he communicated with the divine sword in his sea of consciousness. Wishing Crocodile stared at Lin Tian. Little guy, do you have some amazing divine treasure on you? How could a powerful Wishing Crocodile be hurt by a immortal realm cultivator? The only possibility was that Lin Tian had a powerful divine treasure on him. At this time, Wishing Crocodile stared at Lin Tian even more excitedly. It was like a man who saw a naked beauty. It stretched out its claws toward Lin Tian again. Little guy, hurry up and hand over the divine treasure on you. Then, Grandpa Crocodile will spare your life. Lin Tian felt his body tremble again, as if a galaxy was pressing down on him, shaking his soul. Almost instinctively, he waved his right hand forward to welcome it. Buzz! 7 colored light intertwined, and a divine sword flew out from his right palm. It was the mysterious divine sword in his sea of consciousness. Wishing Crocodile trembled. 7 colored light, unparalleled in the world. Divine treasure. Amazing divine treasure. Without any hesitation, it directly grabbed the divine sword with its claws and laughed wildly. Divine fate. Divine fate. This excavation was worth it. I actually found such a divine treasure. With it, Grandpa Crocodile will be able to step into the Chaos Emperor realm soon. The beast's claws swept across the sky and grabbed in the blink of an eye. Wishing Crocodile's wild laughter made the entire underground space tremble involuntarily. The beast's claw quickly appeared an inch away from the divine sword, but it paused and couldn't grab it anymore. You still want to resist? It's useless. In front of Grandpa Crocodile, it's futile. Wishing Crocodile laughed wildly. However, at the next moment, the laughter stopped abruptly. The claw that was swung out trembled fiercely. Circles of divine brilliance flowed out from its claws and flowed into the divine sword. Damn it! Not only did you not surrender, but you also want to seize Grandpa Crocodile's power? Wishing Crocodile roared. It tried to control the demon power in its body with all its might. At the same time, it wanted to withdraw its claws. However, it was useless. Its body was stuck by an invisible force at this moment. It couldn't break free. The demon power in its body was like a runaway wild horse or a flash flood that broke the dam. It flowed wildly into the divine sword. Roar! Wishing Crocodile roared and tried its best to resist. However, the divine sword remained motionless. It stood horizontally in the void like a monument. Buzz! Circles of divine brilliance flowed out of Wishing Crocodile's body and poured into the divine sword. Moreover, the speed of the outflow became faster. Lin Tian looked at the scene in front of him in a daze. He only felt that the demon power emitted by Wishing Crocodile was getting weaker and weaker. Its huge demon body was also shrinking rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it changed from 100 feet tall to 90 feet tall, then to 80 feet tall. He was a little surprised. Is the divine sword seizing Wishing Crocodile's demon power cultivation? He stared straight ahead, watching as the 5 elements crocodile roared and struggled. Its demonic aura was getting weaker and weaker, and its demonic body was getting smaller and smaller. From 80 feet to 70 feet, from 70 feet to 60 feet, from 60 feet to 15 feet, and from 15 feet to 40 feet. Soon nearly 100 breaths passed. Wishing Crocodile howled miserably. Its huge demon body shrunk to less than a meter tall. At this moment, the divine sword shook and turned into a ray of light, once again entering Lin Tian's body. Lin Tian's body shook. He quickly scanned his sea of consciousness. He saw that the divine sword had already returned and was lying quietly in his sea of consciousness. The mysterious patterns on the sword's body had become slightly clearer. Roar! Wishing Crocodile howled. It fell to the ground. Its demon body had shrunk to less than a meter, a size smaller than an ordinary crocodile. Lin Tian opened his mouth. He could clearly feel that Wishing Crocodile's current strength was only at the spiritual sea realm. Wishing Crocodile howled. At this moment, it suddenly met Lin Tian's eyes. It couldn't help but tremble. Lin Tian was stunned for a moment, then reacted. He lifted his leg and stepped on Wishing Crocodile's tail. Times have changed. The current Wishing Crocodile was no longer the Wishing Crocodile from before. Boy, how dare you step on my tail? Do you want to die? Wishing Crocodile roared. Lin Tian squinted at the primitive beast that was less than a meter tall. He lifted his right leg that was stepping on its tail slightly. That's right, boom! Lin Tian stepped on it again. Roar! Boy, you! Boom! Lin Tian lifted his leg and stepped on it again. Boy, you're courting death! Boom! I'm going to swallow you! Boom! Damn human! Boom! Boy, don't step on it. It hurts! Boom! Roar, goddamn boy, stop! My tail is going to break! Wishing Crocodile howled miserably. Lin Tian stepped on it again before he stopped. There was a slight surprise in his eyes. After all, his current physique was extremely formidable, yet these few fierce stomps of his didn't even leave behind the slightest mark on the 5-element alligator's body. Looks like even though the 5-element alligator's cultivation has fallen, the strength of its body is still extremely solid, and it's at least at the initial stage of the rebirth realm. He grabbed Wishing Crocodile's tail, lifted it upside down, and squinted at it. Didn't you want to snatch my spiritual fruit? Didn't you want to swallow me? Why did you suddenly become so embarrassed? The 5 elements crocodile stared at Lin Tian angrily. Then, in the blink of an eye, it turned into a gray and dull appearance again and again. It wailed, Damn God, you're so blind! How could you trick me like this? You actually. Oh woo! Lin Tian raised his hand and slapped it. You are a primitive, fierce beast. Why are you howling like a wolf? The 5 elements crocodile wailed even more sadly. Grandpa Crocodile was about to enter the Emperor realm. Now, I was actually beaten back to the Sea of Consciousness realm. Roar! As he spoke, the 5 elements crocodile stared at Lin Tian ferociously. Brat, what did you do to me? What is that sword? Return Grandpa Crocodile's cultivation base. Otherwise, Grandpa Crocodile will eat you alive! Lin Tian lifted Wishing Crocodile's tail, and raised his hand to slap it again. Wishing Crocodile's monster body shook and continued to wail. I forgot that my cultivation is only at the Sea of Consciousness realm. Do you still want to swallow me? Yes. Pa! Cough cough, it's my subconscious's fault. I won't swallow it. The 5 elements crocodile coughed dryly. Then, it wailed and added, The point is, I can't swallow it now. Lin Tian raised his hand and gave this fellow another slap. After pausing for a moment, he swung his hand and threw this fellow out. He felt that this wishing crocodile was quite interesting, so he didn't bother to kill it at this time. Moreover, he estimated that although this 5 elements crocodile's cultivation had indeed dropped, its physique was still terrifyingly strong. Ordinary means would probably only be able to make it feel pain. It would probably be very difficult to kill it without being at the Great Tao realm. You can leave by yourself. He glanced at Wishing Crocodile, who was less than a meter away, and continued to walk deeper. Wishing Crocodile was thrown to the ground. It wailed again for its cultivation to fall to the Sea of Consciousness realm. It really sounded like a wolf howling. Then, when it saw that Lin Tian was about to leave, it suddenly stood up and blocked in front of Lin Tian. "What are you doing?" Lin Tian frowned. Wishing Crocodile said with a depressed face. "You made me into this state. I'm only at the Sea of Consciousness realm now. How can I survive outside? This world is so dangerous. If you are caught, it will be over. You have to shoulder the responsibility." "What?" Lin Tian felt that he had heard wrongly. "You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.